Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 221-240. Chapter 0221 Mere Humans, Let's Be Fearful. There are 5 of the 4 heavenly kings. What kind of bullshit common sense is this tilde? Sengoku was shocked and angry, never expected that the dream still exists, a master-level cadre. Although this is a dream world, Sengoku is not a lucid dream. To him, it is all real, and he does not know that he is actually dreaming. At this moment, when he was about to be publicly executed, an Abyss Lord suddenly appeared. Without thinking about it, he knew that the other party was here to save people. After experiencing the initial shock, Sengoku quickly regained his composure and snorted coldly, "Heaven has a way, you don't go, hell has no door, you come and go. Marines, let's take action together and suppress the remnants of dreams." As soon as the voice fell, he took the lead. The whole person swelled rapidly, jumped up from the execution platform, and walked towards Qin-yang. In midair, Sengoku's body turned into a golden Buddha, but this time the ability manifested was much larger than what Qin-yang knew. The golden Buddha is 100 meters tall, and when he raises his right hand, he slaps it down with a palm. Buddha light impact. With a loud roar, Sengoku's palm shot out, and a large piece of golden Buddha light appeared in the air, in the shape of a fan, blocking all airspaces in Qin-yang. Cheat. Qin-yang's mouth twitched, and he secretly said, "Can you ignore age and time in your dreams and force yourself to be at your peak?" Sengoku in this dream is much stronger than the Sengoku in reality. However, Qin-yang is completely true. His body of a great devil is almost immortal, and he is reborn from a drop of blood, and it is impossible to even hurt him with the palm of a mere Buddha. Moreover, this is a dream, and there is no concept of death or injury. Thinking of this, Qin-yang laughed Isho and said, "I am the great demon king of fear, a mere golden Buddha, and dare to be arrogant in front of me." He did not dodge or evade, and rushed towards the golden light. It's a dream anyway, who's afraid of who? Owner of the dream is Sengoku, but Qin-yang has a dream invasion. As long as Sengoku is shaken and his mind is afraid, even a little bit, he will be able to gradually nibble away this dream, and he will be the main enemy. At that time, a mere hundreds of thousands of Marines can be destroyed by his breath. Lose. Seeing him rushing frantically, Sengoku couldn't help but be stunned, and then hummed, "Arrogant." Boom. The golden light engulfed Qin-yang. However, in just a moment, a figure pierced through the golden light and rushed directly in front of Sengoku. Taste the fear. Qin-yang snorted and punched Sengoku in the face. What? Sengoku's expression changed. His palm couldn't hurt the opponent in the slightest. How could this be possible? However, there was no time for him to think deeply, and a force came from his face, which knocked him down into the sky. Boom. Sengoku was blown away by a single blow, passed through the execution platform, and fell to the back, causing a hole in the ground of the square. In reality, this blow would have to hurt a little bit, but this is a dream, and Sengoku refuses pain, so there will be no pain. At this moment, the corners of his mouth were bleeding, but he looked up resolutely and shouted, "Do it! Arrest him!" As soon as the voice fell, a golden light flashed. Admiral Kizaru in front of Qin-yang suddenly condensed from the photon state and moved extremely quickly, without half a second before and after. Carrot. With a flying kick, it came upside down. Master of the Abyss. I haven't heard of it, but since it's here, let's go down. Lightspeed kick. Boom. Qin-yang raised his hand to block, and was immediately repelled by the force. With a swoosh, it fell directly to the ground. With his right palm, the force of the impact overturned the surrounding ground, causing numerous cracks and vibrations. Even Kizaru has become stronger. Qin-yang thought in his heart, however, it's useless to become stronger. As long as there is a trace of fear, you will be finished. And just at this moment, not far away, a cold air came rapidly. Ice time. Admiral Kuzan stood far away, with his hands folded in front of his chest. He saw countless cold air around him, like a ghostly snake, approaching Qin Yang at once. Ka ka ka. The temperature suddenly dropped to freezing point, and Qin Yang found that the surface of his skin was being frozen at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huh, Vivi was startled. Kuzan's freezing power has also become stronger, not the speed of freezing, but similar to the Lich King's freezing. It completely freezes people at the level of cells, particles, and even souls. Live. In an instant, Qin Yang turned into an ice sculpture. But this did not end. I saw that below the ice sculpture, the earth suddenly rolled with magma, and a figure suddenly rushed out. It is Admiral Akainu. Akainu's aura was terrifying, his face full of murderous aura. Remains of the dream, you are seeking your own death. Great major eruption. Akainu's right hand turned into a fist of lava and hit the ice sculpture directly. Boom. In an instant, the ice sculpture was smashed into countless pieces of ice, together with Qin Yang's body. 1. Countless sailors were stunned. So, the Dream Master class is not as scary as imagined, and they will be killed too. No, the admirals are too strong. Win. Justice must prevail. After a moment of silence, the execution scene was full of jubilation. Sengoku showed a relieved smile. This is a live broadcast from all over the world. If you can't deal with the ghost of the dream quickly, there may be twists and turns. Well now, business as usual continues. However, at this moment, a laughter sounded from nowhere. Ha ha hey hey hey. Hearing this, Sengoku looked horrified and looked around. This voice is the great demon king of fear. He's not dead. The mere humans want to hurt me too. What you are attacking is just the manifested clone of my 10,000th power. This voice did not know where it came from, as if it sounded directly in everyone's heart. Immediately afterwards, everyone saw that black evil aura was constantly overflowing from the broken ice. This black energy was so huge that in just a short moment, it enveloped the entire execution scene. Everyone panicked and panicked. I saw that above the sky, the black gas condensed and turned into a huge monster with a body size of several kilometers. This monster is hideous and does not have human form, like a demon from the abyss. The monster's big hand is bigger than the entire execution square. This is the execution square that can accommodate hundreds of thousands of people. This big hand seems to cover the sky. I am the great demon king of fear, fear as much as you can, human. The loud laughter sounded, shaking the entire sky to make a muffled sound. When are humans most prone to violent mood swings? It's time to fall from the clouds, of course. The big devil was killed the moment before, and the next second, the other party will tell you that what you killed was just the incarnation of 1/10,000th of my power, and then a huge figure appeared, covering the entire sky. At this moment, a big hand pressed hard on the execution square, as if it was going to hit this area directly. No, impossible. Sengoku paled in horror. What monster are you? There was a tinge of fear in his heart. No, as early as the first laughter sounded earlier, Sengoku had unknowingly appeared a trace of fear of the unknown. It was precisely because of this trace of fear that Qin Yang began to eat away at his dreams. By now, Qin Yang is basically the same as him, the master of dreams. Since he is the master, in this dream, he can do whatever he wants. Ha ha ha, how can the power of the dread demon lord be understood by mere humans? Go to hell. From the sky, hoarse laughter came. And along with this laughter, a big palm that was enough to cover the sky slammed down. What marshal, admiral, even 10 million, 100 million elite soldiers here, will be destroyed under this palm. This is a blow from the Lord of Dreams. With a single blow, it is enough to collapse the dream, and a mere island can be destroyed with a flick of a finger, let alone an execution square on the island. The great demon king of fear. Sengoku was shaking all over. Chapter 0222-frightened in a trance. First update. Regarding the update, there are 3 updates per day. Many times, I have already updated it, but there is a delay in the Philo app. The great demon king of fear. Watching the huge black palm slap down, Sengoku felt a sense of terror in his heart. This kind of enemy is not a human at all, but a demon king. Ice wall. At this moment, Admiral Kuzan suddenly raised his hand, and saw the cold air raging, and suddenly a huge city wall appeared. The city wall rose from the ground, blocking the big hand of darkness, but also to protect the hundreds of thousands of sea soldiers below. Huh, what nonsense, can an ice wall be so easily frozen without water? Above the sky, Chinyang couldn't help but sigh. Sengoku even subconsciously gave Kuzan this ability to freeze. The 3-star Lich King does not have this freezing ability. Many times, the Lich King needs a prerequisite skill to create freezing. This time Kuzan made his move, directly ignoring the natural elements and creating an ice wall out of thin air. This ice wall was hundreds of meters high, protecting the entire square. Unfortunately, it's useless. I'm now the master of half a dream, and the mere wall of ice can't stop it. Chinyang laughed Isho and said, break it for me. With an order, the big dark hand became heavier and heavier, and it actually doubled in one breath. Oops! Kuzan's face changed drastically. The sound of clicking sounded, and the defensive ice wall he created was cracked and shattered in an instant under the dark hand, and it was impossible to stop it for a second. Boom! The dark hand was majestic and pressed down on the square ruthlessly. Many of the sea soldiers below, all of them with big hearts, began to flee in all directions. It's just that the dark hand shrouded the entire square, and there was no way to escape. Yasukani no Magatama. Great Major Eruption. Suddenly, Admiral Kizaru and Admiral Akainu started together, trying to defeat the big hand of darkness. Not only them, but also a large number of Vice Admiral, the giant Vice Admiral, and they are also heading up at this moment. Right angle flash. Big bang. Artillery attack. All of a sudden, all kinds of abilities, sword light, hit the dark hand one after another. However, to no avail. Everything, under the blow of the Lord of Dreams, will turn into ashes, and it is impossible to stop even an instant of time. Impossible. Sengoku was full of disbelief. Obviously he is the master, why is he so strong? It was difficult for him to understand that this was not the combat power of the 4 emperors at all, it was far beyond that, and Whitebeard was not so scary. Boom! The dark hand broke through all obstacles and pressed hard on the square. Immediately, countless marines were directly beaten into powder, and together with most of the square, they sank to the bottom of the sea. The entire sea caused huge waves, and the island of Marineford was shaking violently. I am a fluid, and I have been injured. Akainu looked shocked. Under this palm, he ignored his fluid and shot him directly into the ground. Together with the square, he sank to the sea. Ha ha ha, I am the great demon lord of fear, Sengoku, die. Chinyang's body is thousands of meters, as if shaking the sky and shaking the ground. Between the words, in the black air, another big hand sticks out. The big hand turned into a fist, comparable to the size of an island, and fell directly in the direction of Sengoku. Let's disappear with the marine headquarters. Stop. Sengoku was flabbergasted, shaking all over. There is fear and anger. This punch, more terrifying than before, will sink the island and wipe it off the map. This is not human power. He shouted, dread the great demon lord. In the hoarse roar, the punch finally fell. Boom! The entire Marineford was shot into the sea abruptly and disappeared completely. The scene like the end of the world breaks everyone's mind. Boom! Suddenly, the space was broken, cracked like a mirror, time was frozen, and everything was gradually disappearing. Sengoku's mood collapsed, which directly caused the dream to begin to shatter. A good dream suddenly turned into a nightmare. Sengoku couldn't hold on anymore, he just wanted to make this horrible thing go away. I guess I'll be scared to death when I wake up. Above the sky, the abyss monster that was thousands of meters in size disappeared and regained its human form. Chinyang looked down at the ruins below and shook his head, however, the more fearful the better. Thanks to the fear you provided, I can complete the transformation. As soon as the voice fell, his body began to dissipate. The dream collapsed, and he had to evacuate. However, Sengoku alone is not enough. Go on to the next dream. Late at night, Marine Headquarters, Marineford. On this island, in addition to the Marine Headquarters, there is also a town where Marine family members live, and the scale is not small. At the moment in the Marshal's mansion, in a bedroom, the man on the bed suddenly woke up. The great demon king of fear. With a mournful shout, Sengoku stood up abruptly, covered in cold sweat and looked terrified. After a while, he covered his forehead, and said in a flustered mood, "It turned out to be a dream, bastard. If you dream, you can dream of a dream." He gritted his teeth, and there was still a trace of panic in his heart. It's okay to dream of a dream, and to publicly execute the dream pirates. What a beautiful dream, but there is actually a fear of the great devil. The Abyss Master came out to disturb, and the dream became a nightmare. At the last moment, the power displayed by the great demon king is no longer in the category of human beings. It is estimated that the legendary ancient weapons are not necessarily so strong. One punch directly sank an island. That kind of situation is chilling to think about. More he thought about it, the more Sengoku felt his heart tremble, and suddenly, he was shaken all over. Wait, why can I remember the dream so clearly? Suddenly, a fear of the unknown made his heart beat faster. Sengoku is not a religious believer, but occasionally from the biography of some mysterious people, you can see the prediction dream thing. Could it be that the headquarters will be destroyed in the hands of the great dread demon king in the future? No, who is the great dread demon lord? It can't exist at all. Even so, Sengoku got up from the bed at once. He was wearing pajamas, and no matter what else, he directly informed his subordinates. In the middle of the night at 5:9, he was summoned by the marshal, and this subordinate was also in a delicate mood. Go to the database, the intelligence room, and investigate the great demon king of fear. Sengoku gritted his teeth. No, there are also theological related materials, myths and legends, and biographies, all of which have been investigated. Hurry up. He was frightened, and always felt that something was wrong. Under the shadow of the bow and snake, he subconsciously wanted to find out, what exactly is the Abyss Master? Does it really exist even if it's a myth? The subordinates were dumbfounded. Did the marshal go crazy in the middle of the night? Also, why are you in a cold sweat? And while Sengoku is in a state of uncertainty, similar situations keep happening all over the world. One dream after another, all broke into the uninvited guests. And with the appearance of fear, the real body of the great demon king of fear in the center of Long Island is condensing little by little. Not enough. Chapter 0223_awakened in the near future, annihilated in the future. Open black lens bracket second update tilde happy Valentine's Day tilde close black lens bracket. Dream. After all, it is a dream. Even if you wake up, you will panic and panic, but after learning that it is a dream, people will quickly calm down and just treat it as a dream. Therefore, the collection of fear appears to be relatively slow and rare. The lake in the center of Long Island. Because of absorbing the mysterious power in the lake, at this time, the lake has lost some special function. And the flying dragons on the island also started to riot. They seemed to have found an abnormality and flew towards the center a little bit. Chinyang was not interested in dealing with the roaring dragon for the time being, and his body still failed to condense. In the black air, only one hand is real. The progress is too slow. In one night, I destroyed an unknown number of beautiful dreams, only to condense one hand. At this speed, if I want to completely condense my body, I estimate that it will take more than half a month. This time, it's not long, it's not short. But Chinyang still wanted to be faster. As for how to be faster, he thought of two methods for the time being. The first is to deepen the fear. Many dream owners think that it is a dream after waking up, and they are relieved. In this case, as long as the other party has a dream, he will invade and bring a nightmare. As long as 2 or 3 times, the other party must be suspicious and feel that the fear of the great demon king may be real. The second, more direct, think of a way to attract some people to Longdao. In reality, Qin Yang brings fear to others. If he does this, he may easily condense his body. The first one is easy to handle, the second one is a little more troublesome, so let's try the first one first. Qin Yang thought silently. Ninth change. Fear the devil not fully activated. Star. Ability 1. Dream Invasion. Ability 2. Ability 3. Ability 4. Unlocked. Ability 5. Unlocked. It should be a 3-star level. Judging from the level of an archangel, this time the great demon king has the combat power of a 4-emperor level as soon as he appears. Qin Yang thought inwardly, it's the first time I've encountered it, and it stopped halfway through the transformation. I'm afraid there will be other situations in the future. Forget it, let's continue to invade other people's dreams. Just as he was about to work, a dragon roar suddenly came. Qin Yang looked at it intently, and saw that above the sky, at some point, 6 or 7 flying dragons were already circling. Each of these flying dragons is huge, breathing dragon breath in its mouth, and dragon scales exude brilliance. The head of them, probably the Dragon King, was covered in dark green, with a pair of dragon eyes staring at the black air in the lake, exuding strong hostility. Roar! The Dragon King issued another warning. Go away! Qin Yang snorted coldly. Although he didn't understand, he also knew that the visitor was not good. The only condensed right hand suddenly grabbed towards the sky. Chang equals. The black air filled the air, and the green Dragon King was grabbed by a force, his wings. Close up, let out a scream. The rest of the flying dragons seemed sluggish, completely unaware of what was going on. Even Qin Yang couldn't help but be startled. He just felt that if he grabbed from the air, he seemed to be able to hit the opposite side, but he didn't expect it to be possible. The great demon king of fear, what kind of ability can you catch a dragon king to death at such a long distance? After thinking about it, Qin Yang let go of the green flying dragon, and then swept the 6 or 7 flying dragons hovering over his head hundreds of meters away with a fan in his right hand, as if swatting flies. Boom! I saw an invisible force, like a fly swatter, that slapped 6 or 7 flying dragons into the air. Sure enough, it's interesting. Qin Yang smiled and stopped paying attention to these Dragon Island flying dragons, and continued to start the dream invasion. Marineford, Marine Headquarters Building. It was noon now, and in the marshal's office, Sengoku was dealing with a series of things. Shichibukai is currently missing too. After a period of analysis and investigation, 5 were finally selected from a group of pirates. The relevant information of these 5 people is placed in front of Sengoku, and it is up to him to decide which 2 of them to contact and invite. Having learned from the last time, Marine was more cautious this time, and Sengoku didn't want another Shichibukai rebellion. To now, the rebel Shichibukai, Gecko Moria has not been caught, and I don't know where to hide, and I don't want to hide the 3-masted sails in the old nest. As for the 9-tailed fox, let him go, Marine can't fall out with Dream yet. And Doflamingo, this guy can't move him for the time being, is also a rather troublesome character. Hey! Sengoku sighed, clutching his forehead, his head hurting. He had a nightmare last night, which kept him from falling asleep, and he is still in a trance. After he woke up last night, he asked his subordinates to investigate the information of the Great Demon King, and the results have come out. In mythology, or some other stories, the Great Demon King is very common, but I have never heard of the Great Demon Lord. It really is a dream, I think too much. Sengoku calmed down a bit, and then he carefully looked at the 5 materials. Within today, he had to choose 2 of them, and then contact them and invite them to join Shichibukai. It's just that he didn't sleep well last night, he looked at it, fell asleep, and then had a dream. Daydreaming, lucid dreaming. In the blur, Sengoku could realize a little bit that he should be dreaming. When I opened my eyes, what I saw was a sea, a blue sea, the wind was sunny, and the seagulls burst forth. Sengoku was wearing a pair of beach shorts, shirtless, wearing a sun hat, leaning on a small chair, fishing rod in hand, and fishing by the sea. Are you too tired? So I dream of a comfortable life after retirement. Did you dream of publicly executing the dream pirates because of too much pressure? Sengoku thought to the bottom of his mind, but it was rare for him to feel at ease for a while. He held the fishing rod, basking in the sun, squinting and taking a nap. Since it's a dream, relax. But why can I know that this is a dream? Although there was a little doubt in his heart, Sengoku didn't care, he was really tired. As the leader of Marine, he was under pressure that ordinary people could not imagine, and if he were an ordinary person, he would have been driven crazy. Especially with the emergence of the dream pirates, the situation has simply deteriorated indefinitely. Suddenly, Sengoku felt the pulling of the fishing line. He opened his eyes. 643. Vivi Isho said, "Have you been hooked? With this strength, it should be a big guy." He laughed, got up, grabbed the fishing rod, and began to slowly reel in the line. When fishing and reeling, you have to pay attention to a retracting force. Too rough, it is easy to break the fishing line, or even unhook. However, Sengoku has good skills and can easily catch fish. But when the fish surfaced, Sengoku's color changed suddenly, and he was so frightened that he dropped the fishing rod, and took 6 or 7 steps back. Sengoku was horrified, and there was a fright in his eyes. Why are you again? I saw what the fish hook caught. It was the abyss that dominates the great demon king of fear. Ha 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 ha. Chinyong let out a chattering laugh. Sengoku, we meet again. Sengoku's fear immediately made him the master of dreams again, half the master of dreams. The great demon king of fear. Sengoku couldn't help recalling the last dream. You're fake. You don't exist. It's just a dream, he said sharply. Chinyong was still laughing. His whole body was filled with black energy, killing intent, destruction, desire, and jealousy, as if he had all the negative emotions of human beings. Suddenly, Chinyong stretched out his right hand and grabbed it from the air. What? Sengoku couldn't believe it. He found himself being squeezed by some kind of invisible big hand and lifted up. Is it really just a dream? Chinyong snorted. I am the great demon king of fear. I woke up recently, and will destroy the world in the future. Chapter 0224_Samsung Devil. The third update. Don't rush me, I have less than 3 updates one day. I'm such a disciplined author. Don't say I'm breaking a change, I haven't even had one less update. I would like to thank everyone for making the book more than 20,000, reaching 21,000. Thank you very much. Close black lens bracket. Wake up recently, and destroy the world in the future. Chinyang's words made Sengoku feel terrified. Destroy the world. He stared at the big devil in front of him, struggling to break free. You want to destroy the world? That's right, this is destiny. Now that it wakes up, this world has already decayed to the point where it needs to be destroyed. Chinyang said as if recalling. The last time I woke up was 30,000 years ago. As the guardians of world peace, you Marine must be my #1 goal, ha 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 ha. To deepen the fear of Sengoku is to break the peace and bring destruction to the world. Of course, just saying this in a dream has no substantive meaning. Therefore, Chinyang has already let the clone do it. Next, let's start with you, Martial Marine. As soon as Chinyang waved his hand, terrifying instruments of torture appeared around him. He has already seized the control of the dream, and he can control the dream and change some torture tools with a single thought, which is really a piece of cake. These are the torture tools in the 18th floor abyss, specially used to deal with the soul. Sengoku, you should experience it. Looking at the evil smile of the other party, the fear in Sengoku's heart grew stronger, and his whole body trembled uncontrollably. You devil, he yelled. Destroy the world. Judging from the strength that the opponent showed in the last dream, who in the world can stop it? A new world, a certain sea area. A small canoe rode the wind and waves and slowly moved towards the starting 3 islands. On the small canoe, there are 4 people. It is the Shadow Demon and the Ghost Mother-in-law. They left Dragon Island and went to Mysteria, where they planned to temporarily place Nini Polin with Doflamingo. According to the meaning of the Shadow Demon, it is enough to take Nini alone. As for the Ghost Mother-in-law and Andy Poland, wherever they love to go, it is a pity that these 2 are determined to follow. Huh. Suddenly, the Shadow Demon looked up and looked into the distance. What's the matter? The Ghost Mother-in-law said in a deep voice. I've been given an assignment from above, and I'm going to leave. Shadow Demon looked sideways at the 3 of them, and without waiting for the other party to be happy, he said, I will ask the rest of the cadres to protect you and send you to Mysteria safely. The protection of shit is obviously escort. Andy murmured in his heart, but he didn't dare to have any thoughts. After seeing Emperor Chin, he was already desperate. I saw a flash of red light, and a figure suddenly appeared. That was the 9-tailed demon fox. Juya, you guard them, I will complete the task. After speaking, the Shadow Demon body suddenly dissipated into a black mist and disappeared at once. At the same time, Marine Headquarters, the Marshal's office. Sengoku was lying on the table, squinting for a nap, but there was cold sweat on his face, as if he was experiencing some kind of nightmare. At this moment, in his shadow, a wisp of black smoke emerged, twisted, and gradually transformed into a human form. The Shadow Demon looked at each other calmly. After a while, Isho said, can't you guess? The great demon king of terror is destroying your dreams, and I'm here to do something. Saying that, the Shadow Demon looked at the desk. On the table are 5 pieces of pirate information. After flipping through it for a while, the Shadow Demon understood. These are the 5 candidates for Shichibukai. When Shichibukai was formed, there was an incident of attacking the deep-sea prison, which could be described as shooting himself in the foot. This time, Marine was much more cautious. As expected, 5 smart pirates were chosen. The highest one offered a reward of 380 million, and the lowest one offered a reward of 120 million. Of course, the bounty is relatively low, because there are not many evil deeds done, right? The threat level of the world government is not high. Quote. Thinking like this, the Shadow Demon took out a pen from the side, and on top of the 5 pieces of information, the pen walked the dragon and snake. The distorted and terrifying characters remained on it after a while. Fear, big, magic, king. That's not enough, the Shadow Demon turned his hands again and transformed into a pitch-black card. This is the card that the shadow power condensed. On this card, there is another row of bloody words. Well, it's almost there. At least it proves that the Dread Lord is real, enough to make Sengoku paranoid. Oh, waking up. Sengoku, whose body began to tremble, and his thoughts disappeared in an instant. And the moment he left, Sengoku suddenly came to his senses. Ah! Exclamation, Sengoku gasped for breath and looked terrified. It's another nightmare, damn the great demon king of fear. He raised his right hand, and Vivi was shaking. Sengoku gritted his teeth and resisted taking out the silk scarf to wipe the cold sweat from his forehead. I dreamed of that monster twice in a row. Is it because I've been under too much pressure recently? He calmed down a little, then looked wearily at the table. Despite a midday nap and nightmares, I woke up and had to work. Shichibukai's matter must be dealt with first, and a decision must be made. Thinking like this, Sengoku lowered his head, his pupils shrank suddenly, and he looked extremely horrified. Boom! He stood up suddenly, and fell down the chair behind him. No, impossible. On the tabletop, there is a black character on each of the 5 optional pirate documents. The font is distorted and terrifying, and if you read it carefully, you can recognize it. That's Terror Lord. How is that possible? It's just a dream. Sengoku panicked. Whose prank? He was very angry, but out of the corner of his eyes, he caught a glimpse of a black card in the middle of the data pile. Sengoku took a deep breath, slowly reached out to pick up the card, and turned it over. This look made him look sluggish, as if he was lost. Sengoku, what's the taste of torture tools? Ha 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 ha. It's the great demon king. It's definitely him. Sengoku's body trembled, whether it was anger or fright. I don't know what material this card was made of, it was extremely soft, and after he read it, it turned into black smoke and disappeared. Check. It must be checked. Sengoku was furious, slammed the table, and shouted, someone. The great demon king of fear really exists, and he can not only invade his dreams at will, but even affect the material world. Wake up today, die in the future. This is a prophecy, absolutely must stop this from happening. Sengoku is not afraid of death. One day he will die in battle, that is his destiny and his duty, but the destruction of the world is absolutely impossible. Sengoku was very scared, afraid that one day, he would actually see the figure of the terrifying monster in his dream. Not to mention that Marshal Sengoku was quite frightened. Dragon Island, Central Lake. Chinyang suddenly felt a strong sense of fear coming, and the speed of his transformation suddenly accelerated hundreds of times. Is it Sengoku? Chinyang said in surprise. Now that he is awake, he has also seen the hands and feet of the shadow demon, so he should panic to death. Just one person's fear can actually make me condense my body. It was wrong from the beginning, the fear in the dream, insignificant, too rare. In reality, the fear was completely different. Sengoku alone was worth hundreds of thousands of nightmares. At this moment, the evil forces began to riot, black air was billowing, and a body was gradually taking shape. At the same time, in Chinyang's mind, the information about the new transformation finally became clear. 9th change: Fear the Devil. Star rating. Ability 1, Dream Invasion. Ability 2, Fear the Scales. Ability 3, Demon King's Body. Ability 4, Unlocked. Ability 5, Unlocked. Of Fear was half immersed in the water, his naked body showing off his strong muscles. Suddenly, Chinyang opened his eyes. What a strong physique. Kaido is definitely not comparable to this body now. Chapter 0225 _ Let Kaido come and talk. With this body, Kaido can't match it. Chinyang felt the body of the great demon king, and couldn't help being secretly surprised. Different from the feeling of manifestation in the dream, this time it is an entity, it is real, not to mention the explosive power contained in the muscles. The blood flow in the body is like a furnace. The blood flowing in each blood vessel is like a torrent of blood, rolling away. During the circulation, the chi and blood are exuberant, like a flame, which can burn roaringly. What a strong vitality! Rebirth from a drop of blood is really not what I said. Chinyang could clearly feel that any drop of blood in his body contained much more vitality than ordinary people. He even felt that if he vomited a mouthful of blood, the blood alone could burn the steel red. And it is 3-star when it is opened, which saves a lot of effort than the Archangel. As soon as the Holy Archangel was activated, 3 fruits were consumed, and then 8 fruits were consumed when it rose to 3-star level. In contrast, the Big Devil turned into a prophet. After this period of research, Chinyang has understood that the opening of a new transformation will generally fluctuate between 1 star and 3 stars, specifically a few stars. There is no pattern, it depends on luck. A small probability of 1 star, a small probability of 3 stars, and an 80 to 90% chance of 2 stars. However, I'm absorbing too little fear right now, and it's not at its peak at all. Shaking his head, Chinyang walked up from the lake. Let's look at the 3 abilities first. The first one, Dreamland Invasion. Chinyang has used it thousands of times. He can't say he has mastered it completely, but he is quite proficient in 967. The second is the Scale of Fear. This ability is very simple. Once fear is born in the opponent's heart, its combat effectiveness will decrease rapidly. Even a Logia-capable person, once the emotion of fear reaches a certain limit, Chinyang can make him incapacitated, and fluid is meaningless in front of the Scale of Fear. In the dream, Sengoku felt a trace of fear in his heart. Chinyang immediately nibbled at the dream and became the master of half the dream. To do this, he relied on this ability, but he didn't know what the specific ability was at the time. Just use. As for the third ability, the body of the Demon King, this is the strongest power of the great Demon King at present. The body of a Demon King, my skin, in its natural state, is extremely hard. Even if it is a slash from a great swordsman, I am afraid it will be hard to hurt. At most, it leaves a mark, usually a big swordsman's slash. Chinyang stood still and let the opponent attack. 1 or 2 times, it didn't matter at all. And the bones in the body are even more terrifying. Chinyang feels that there are very few people in the world who can break his defenses. Just talking about defense, the 3-star Demon King is still above the 4-star Sea Dragon. The 4-star Sea Dragon needs to rely on burning real dragon blood to catch the slash of Eagle Eye, but if it is afraid of the Big Devil, I am afraid that it can be destroyed with a slap. There is only one flaw in such a strong transformation. Chinyang whispered to himself, the main body of the great Demon King of Fear is not a human being. To maintain this human form, you need to constantly consume the power of fear. The share of fear contributed by Sengoku has consumed most of it before, at most only 2 or 3 days. This body it's going to crash again. However, this kind of thing is also easy to solve, just find a hapless ghost to bully it. Forget it, get out of Dragon Island first. Go to Kaido's and get the debt. Thinking of this, Chinyang's mind moved. Immediately, his backbones changed, a tingling sensation came, and then with a puff, a pair of demon wings suddenly unfolded. The next moment, Chinyang jumped into the air. Compared with the supersonic speed of the Archangel, the flying speed of the Big Devil is naturally inferior, and of course slightly better than the Sea Dragon. After all, the Sea Dragon is not good at flying. I saw a black shadow flying across the sky and flew away from Long Island in an instant. Many flying dragons on the island stared together, and at this moment could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. The Big Devil finally left, but unfortunately the strange sea area around Long Island has disappeared. Now, Long Island is completely exposed to the sea. It is estimated that some unlucky ships will come here soon. It is impossible to tell the position at sea. Of course, for Chinyang, this is not a problem. Call out the Sea Dragon, go under the sea to read the current data, and immediately know where you are. This is a sea area near the windless zone. Further out, it is west blue. Inward, it is the intersection of Kaido Sea area and Chaos Sea area. It can be said to be quite close. Looking for the direction, Chinyang immediately flew away. 2 days later. New World, Kaido Sea. Chinyang flew for 2 days without rest, and finally got close to Kaido's stronghold in the New World. Suddenly, he reduced the speed of his flight and looked down from the sky. I saw a huge ship sailing slowly above the sea below, with a pirate flag hanging on the mast. As soon as Luffy came, Chinyang saw a lot of pirates, but it was not surprising, but the flag hanging from the ship below was the Kaido pirates. It's good to meet you. As soon as the thought moved, Chinyang immediately swooped away. At the same time, on the pirate ship below, a pirate suddenly raised his head and squinted. Captain Jack, something flew over. What? The speaker's voice was low and rough, and he was 2.45 meters tall, which was taller than Chinyang's transformation of the Great Demon King. With a ponytail and 2 braids, this man is burly and strong, with a metal jaw on his mouth, and 2 ivory-like decorations on his head and shoulders. While this man was speaking, he was waving a 10-ton barbell with one hand. The huge barbell was like a wooden stick in his hand, and it flew up and down easily. It's already here, it's coming for us, it's a human, with wings. While the pirate was talking, a figure was already approaching rapidly, and in just a moment, it flew to the bow of the boat. Only then did everyone see clearly the evil man with wings on his back and horns on his head. The man was 26'7" in appearance, tall and muscular. Flying on the bow, folded his arms, stared at himself and others calmly. Who are you underscore 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 underscore. Since he dared to fly in front of him, Jack also guessed that the other party was not a good person, so he didn't attack the first time. Kaido isn't here. Chinyang swept his gaze, and in his perception, did not find the existence of Kaido, so he said, "You are one of the three disasters, Drought Jack." He has seen this person before. When he was on Cake Island, the opponent could push back Andy in the form of a giant ape with a single blow. Drought Jack, under the command of the 4 Emperor Kaido, captain of the Mammoth, has a bounty of 800 million. HMPH, I'll ask you again, who are you? Jack snorted coldly and put down the barbell. What's the purpose of coming here? Let Kaido come and talk to me. Chinyang looked down at the other party and said calmly, "What are you? You are not qualified to decide what I want to say. He came to ask for debts, and the cadres have nothing to do, and they must have the captain. Humph, more arrogant than me, really courting death. Thinking that you have the ability to fly, can't I kill you?" Jack's anger flashed, and he suddenly jumping dozens of meters high. He raised his right fist, which was covered with armament, and the pitch-black fist hit Chinyang fiercely. Seeing this, the pirates below shouted happily, "Captain Jack, kill him. It's really courting death for provoking our Kaido pirates. It's just the ability to fly, with a pair of wings, think you're an archangel." Chinyang raised his eyebrows. Without dodging or avoiding, he directly raised his hand, and with a bang, he squeezed Jack's fist abruptly. What? Jack's expression changed, and he was surprised to find that he couldn't break free. The next moment, a force came, and his fist made a cracking sound, as if it would be crushed at any time. Impossible. Haki wraps himself around. What kind of brute force is he? Jack's eyes widened with a bloody look on his face. He has Haki entanglement. The other party is just brute force. No, it's just a mere hand, and he wants to crush his fist. I said, let Kaido come and talk to me. Chinyang snorted, suddenly let go, and then waved in the air. Boom. Jack felt an invisible force slap him, and he was slapped down like a buzzing fly. With a thud, the whole person fell into the sea, raising a splash of water. Captain Jack. All the pirates looked shocked, and they all shouted in unison. Chinyang snorted dissatisfiedly and said, if you don't ask Kaido to come out, I will tear down your broken boat. Chapter 0226 Come back and collect the corpse. 2 middle 2, ashamed close black lens bracket. Do ent call Kaido out again, I'll tear down your broken ship. Chinyang snorted, a little impatient. The pirates on the boat did not speak, and several of them jumped directly into the sea from the edge of the boat and rescued Captain Jack. Drought Jack is a capable person. Even if he is strong and has resistance to seawater, if he wants to swim in the sea, it is a dream. If he does not rescue him, he will only sink to the bottom of the sea. Are you all right, Captain Jack? The pirate who saved the life asked hurriedly. PFF'd. Jack sat cross-legged, spit out seawater, and looked quite annoyed. Damn, careless Tilda. Although he was reckless, his brain was not broken, and if he dealt with it seriously, he would not have been thrown into the sea so easily. However, I have to admit that this winged guy is very powerful, at least his power is quite terrifying. Just thinking about it, he saw Chinyang flutter his wings and slowly land on the deck. The rest of the pirates saw it and took a few steps back subconsciously. Jack's eyes flashed and he said in a low voice, what do you have to do with the captain? Hearing this, Chinyang didn't say a word, just looked down. His eyes were as calm as water, which brought a lot of pressure to people. Neither side spoke, and the scene suddenly cooled down. After half a minute, Jack spoke first and said, the captain is not here. Under the pressure, Jack had a subtle feeling that, like facing Captain Kaido, no, even more than that. Where? Chinyang asked succinctly. I don't know. Looks like you want to be sunk. With a cold snort, Chinyang suddenly raised his hand, and the next moment, his eyes narrowed, the scale of fear. Boom. There was a sound of vibration in the ears of all the pirates, and the vibration seemed to come from the soul level. In their perception, the entire mammoth pirate ship was shaking violently, and the evil man in front of him was even more terrifying, like a demon. Conqueror. No, it's just the spirit. Impossible. Who is this man? A few low voices sounded, and the next moment, hundreds of pirates on the ship collapsed in a blink of an eye, and then there were many more. Unable to bear the pressure, they all knelt down and gasped for breath. In the New World, Conqueror is not very rare, but it is obviously not. It is just imposing, daring. You bastard. Jack was still able to remain calm, but he was shocked inside. He had only seen this level of daring on the red hair of the four emperors. Qin Yang calmly swept over the pirates and found that 1/5 of them could keep standing, and said, as expected of the four emperors' pirates, there are actually quite a few people who can resist the next wave of fear scales. This is just an application of the scale of fear, which is directly used as a momentum to suppress the opponent. The effect is similar to that of Conqueror, except that Conqueror hockey is to shock and dazzle people, while the scale of fear makes the weak feel fearful. This time, Qin Yang easily gained a power of fear, which made his body more solid, so he didn't have to worry about it for at least a week or two. Who are you? Jack took a deep breath and asked again. Who am I? You don't need to know. Where will Kaido be if he's not staying at the base? Qin Yang raised his chin and motioned to the other party, contact him and let him talk to me. Hearing this, Jack looked gloomy and uncertain, and the tone of the order made him unhappy. I thought about whether I should have a fight, but after thinking about it, I took out the phone bug and dialed the number. He wasn't afraid of the fight, but the ship was definitely doomed. This was the Mammoth, and it wouldn't be fun if it sank. After a while, the call was connected. What's the matter, Jack? The other end of the phone, Kaido's voice came. I said, don't bother me if it's all right. Captain, there is. Just as Jack was about to explain the situation, Qin Yang made a quick move, and the phone bug flew into his hands immediately. Kaido, have you forgotten what you owe? Who are you? With a chuckle, Qin Yang hummed, I'm from a dream, and I'm here today to ask for a debt. 5 devil fruits, hand them over. Kaido was silent for a while. Of course, he didn't forget about Cake Island, and when he thought about it, he became very angry. Now that the other party dared to come to the door, it made him very angry. However, he was not stupid. He sneered immediately and said, if you say you are a dream, will I believe it? Which one are you, a dream? I am the Dreadlord. I've never heard of it. Kaido said solemnly, I'm in the Whitebeard Sea now, and I'll see you when I'm done with the matter here. Hey. Hearing this, Qin Yang let out a low laugh, and there was no joy or anger in the laughter. You are too arrogant, the four emperors Kaido. There is only one person in the world who can make me wait for him. You are not. Since you are in the Whitebeard Sea area, you can continue to stay there. What do you want to do? Kaido was furious. Of course he could hear the killing intent in Qin Yang's words. Since you have something to do, then I will take it myself. I wait for the dream to pay attention to credibility, and I won't take more. If you say 5 coins, that's 5 coins. Qin Yang said to himself. Of course, if your subordinates want to stop you, don't blame me, come back and collect the corpses for them. After speaking, with a snap, Qin Yang hung up the phone bug and threw it aside. At the moment of being hung up, Kaido's angry roar can be heard. Captain Jack's complexion changed slightly, suddenly stood up, and looked at Qin Yang coldly. Fantasy, are you going to fight with our Kaido pirates? War, no, unilateral slaughter. Qin Yang stepped out, and suddenly, the scale of fear reappeared, and those who were weak in strength and will immediately fell down and could not even stand up. This momentum, even on the physical level, the whole deck of the ship, the sound of clacks sounded constantly, as if even the deck could not bear the pressure, the hull was shattering and collapsing. It just so happens that I haven't done it seriously, and I will use you to make a knife. Qin Yang clenched his fists, and suddenly, the blood in his body rolled like a furnace, and the whole body suddenly began to emit blood. Blood is like fire, soaring into the sky. If you look at it from a distance, at this moment, Qin Yang's whole body seems to have a faint red flame, and this flame is rising, which is 10 meters high. I am the great demon king of fear, one of the cadres of the master of dreams, the master of the abyss. Qin Yang's words sounded, and the next moment, the figure suddenly rushed forward. He burst out of speed in an instant, which was completely dependent on the strength of his feet, so the deck he was standing on earlier burst open in an instant. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, people have appeared in front of Drought Jack. Master Cadre. Jack's face was horrified. 4 emperors. He immediately raised his hand to resist, however, Qin Yang's punch, just brute force, shattered his armament hockey. With a click, the entire arm collapsed and was beaten into a twist. The next moment, Jack flew upside down and directly broke the mast of the ship. There are only 3 masters of the dream, and the remaining one is not the master of the earth, but the master of the abyss. Jack's heart trembled, and he suddenly felt a trace of terror. The situation is not good. If the captain doesn't come back quickly, the Kaido pirates will. Chapter 0227 _ Let Kaido Go to the Redemption. Third update. I'm not in a good state today. I'm groggy, I'm sorry. There are only 2 dream leaders who have been exposed to the world. The master of the ocean, Sea Dragon, has the most dazzling record of sniping the marine fleet with 1 person, forcing Marine to surrender and retreat. The master of the sky, the Archangel, suppressed hundreds of New World pirates on Cake Island, including the 3 major forces in the Chaos Sea. And now, there is another Abyss Master. Jack has no doubts that the one in front of him is definitely a 4 Emperor level combat force. He is definitely not an opponent, and he will be hung up and beaten. Boom! The broken mast slowly fell down and crashed on the hull. Kaido pirates, which symbolize the majesty of the 4 emperors, also fell. But the pirates on the boat dared not speak out. The man in front of him was too terrifying. He could break Jack Drought's defense with 1 punch, and even Armament's hockey armor couldn't stop it. Wait! Suddenly, Jack stood up abruptly, raised his other hand, and said quickly, "Your purpose is devil fruit, and you made an appointment with Captain Kaido for 5 pieces. There is no need to do anything to us." Between the words, his right arm, which was beaten into a twist, is slowly recovering. Ancient species. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, knowing that the other party was the mammoth fruit of the ancient zone species, which, like the 2 ancient species he had seen before, had super recovery abilities. It's fine if you know, hand over 5 fruits. Not so much. Jack covered his right arm, stood up straight, and said in a low voice, "On this ship, there is only 1 zone, and I just got it." In fact, Kaido has already started to form the zone abilities core. They are also collecting devil fruits, but the fruits are generally distributed to the appropriate subordinates. The fruits that are actually in hand now, including those in the stronghold, are only 3. And among these 3 devil fruits, 1 is very special, and it is absolutely impossible to give it to Dream. In other words, there are only 2 pieces that can really be used to repay the debt. How many? Qin Yang asked calmly. 2 pieces. Jack said in a deep voice, the reason why Captain Kaido went to the Whitebeard waters was to snatch the devil fruit, which was originally intended for Whitebeard, so he had to do it himself. If all goes well, then there should be 5 fruits. How long? Qin Yang cherishes words like gold. Including the time to return, 1 to 2 weeks. For 10 days and a half month, Qin Yang had no interest in waiting, but, if he could get it first. Phantom, scan. Scanning completed. Found mysterious power, the number is 1, the direction is directly below, the distance, 3 meters. Hearing this, Qin Yang frowned and said, there is only 1 on board, how about another? At the stronghold. Jack's face twitched, and his heart was very angry. Dignified Kaido pirate group, he is very embarrassed at the moment. They have always been the only ones who rob others. At most, they had a conflict with the other 4 emperors, and they were blackmailed at the door. That was the first time. Qinyang doesn't care what the other party thinks. He lifts his foot lightly. Boom. As soon as he landed, a large hole was opened on the deck, and Qinyang jumped directly into the cabin from the hole. Seeing this, Jack's face changed slightly. His eyes became more and more angry. Damn. It's too arrogant. I really want to kill him. However, this is what I think about in my heart. Kaido told me before that if you meet a dream person, try not to have a conflict. The Big Mom pirates are a lesson from the past. Therefore, no matter how angry he is, he can only hold back at this moment. Qinyang entered the cabin, and according to the scan of Fantasy Gene, he quickly found the devil fruit. The fruit was placed in a small box the size of a palm. Qinyang took it immediately after confirming it. Just as he was about to leave, he saw some weapons on the table. All are seastone weapons, with clubs, swords, and seastone shackles. Attack a warship, or was it bought from the black market? Qinyang thought to himself, seastone is a rare thing, basically controlled by marine, and it is not available on the market, so it is either robbery or obtained from the black market. This thing just right. Qinyang Isho picked up the seastone shackles, and returned to the deck. Boom. He threw a pair on the ground, then looked at a pirate and said, "You, come here." The man was startled, not because he was timid, but after being hit by the scale of fear, there was already a trace of fear in his heart, and his performance at this moment would naturally have an impact. What's the matter? This man said bravely, he is not a cadre, he can only be regarded as half a combatant, and his strength has barely reached the level of over 100 million. This level is very good in the Great Route, but in the New World, it seems very ordinary. In the 4 Emperor Seas thieves, not even combatants. Hand up your captain. Qinyang snorted coldly and said, I'm not interested in waiting for that idiot Kaido to come back. Now, your captain is a hostage. Let Kaido take the remaining 4 fruits to redeem the people. Jack was furious, unable to hold back again. Go to Tama's bullshit patience, I'm going to kill this bastard. He was furious and ran wild. However, the next moment, Qinyang suddenly turned around. A huge momentum appeared again, and this momentum was more evil than before, filled with yuwang, shalu, jealousy, anger, fear, etc., as if it contained all the negative emotions of human beings. Facing those eyes, Jack's brain quickly cooled down, and the raised fist was abruptly put down. Not an opponent. Can't beat it. Jack can sense the danger without fighting. Even if he becomes an ancient species, he will probably be beaten to death due to his super resilience. The smell of death. Facing Kaido and Whitebeard, the other party has the ability to kill himself completely. Taking a deep breath, Jack's forehead burst with blue veins, and he gritted his teeth and said, Luke, handcuff me. The pirate was shocked and didn't dare to move at all. He knew very well that this was Captain Jack, who was so angry that he was about to go wild. Quick, if you don't do it again, I'm afraid I won't be able to bear it. There was a loud shout again, and the pirate named Luke finally made his move. Did he pick up the shackles tremblingly, and handcuff Jack, the captain of the Mammoth, one of the 3 disasters, the drought. Captain, he said terribly. Jack ignored him. After being handcuffed by Seastone, his abilities were sealed, and there was even a slight sense of powerlessness, which made his brain calmer. Master of the Abyss, now you are stronger, but this old Manchu has already remembered. Jack said angrily. Hearing this, Qinyang chuckled softly and whistled, calling for the sea beast army under the deep sea. 1.9. After doing this, he looked at Jack. I just lack a stable source of fear. Since you are so dissatisfied, then you are. Said, on the sea, a huge whale slowly emerged. This is a captain-level sea beast of the sea beast army. Qinyang grabbed Jack and flew out of the pirate ship towards the giant whale. You guys, don't forget to send a message to Kaido. I'll take him away. let him bring the remaining devil fruits, and come to the Mysteria Redeemer. If time drags on, this guy is short of arms and legs, don't complain me. Leaving a sentence, Chin-Yong floated away with the prisoner under the steps. The huge whale humped the two and gradually moved away. The mammoth crew members on the ship looked at each other, and their moods were extremely complicated. Captain Kaido must be notified. Damn dream, so arrogant. Someone was outraged. Some people shouted in a low voice, "Shish, keep your voice down, people haven't gone far." For a while, a group of people were silent. Chapter 0228-Lord Angel, please save the lost little lamb. In the New World now, the top 4 major forces have changed. 3 emperors and 1 emperor. Among them, 1 emperor is the most special, referring to the dreamy Captain Chin Emperor, who has the fighting power to destroy the 4 emperor pirates. Therefore, in the face of the dreamy Abyss Master, Kaido's mammoth pirate will appear to be so passive and patient. Unless they are determined to fight Dream, they can only endure it and wait for Captain Kaido to return. Not to mention the thoughts of the pirates, Chin-Yong took the captives and flew away in a giant whale. The back of a whale is very wide, and it is more comfortable to ride than a pirate ship. Chin-Yong threw Jack aside and said, "If you're honest, I won't do anything to you. If you want to run away, I don't mind killing you." Humph. Jack snorted angrily and sat down with his knees crossed. As a prisoner under the steps, he wisely did not challenge. Without a word, the giant whale carried the 2 of them to Mysteria, the starting point of the 3 islands. This voyage, if Chin-Yong is alone, at the speed of flight, it will only take 5 or 6 days to arrive. However, this time with a burden, the speed of the giant whale is far inferior in comparison, so it took more than 10 days to finally return to Mysteria. During this period, the 9-tailed demon fox had already escorted the 3 of Nini Poland to arrive first. Chin-Yong arrived at the port at 15. He asked Jiwei to notify Doflamingo and let him come to the port to meet him. At noon, a huge whale, like a hill, slowly appeared in the port of Mysteria. This immediately caused a commotion, and many pirates on the island gathered to watch the excitement. "What is that whale?" "The one at the port is Shichibukai, Doflamingo. He's welcoming." A group of pirates chatted secretly and did not dare to approach. For this is a member of the Sea Beast Legion, right?" Doflamingo whispered. "It's a captain-level sea beast, under the command of Sea Dragon. The 9-tailed demon fox is in human form at the moment," and he also explained casually when he heard the words, "The captain-level sea beast has sloppy combat power, and it is not too many in the sea beast army. It looks like 100 or 10. That's not much." Doflamingo's heart is awe-inspiring. This power can completely destroy a country, and he doesn't know how Dream can tame these creatures. "If you let him know, this is just a batch of cannon fodder manufactured by Halong, I don't know how he will feel." After a moment of silence, Doflamingo asked, "Who is it? Is it Emperor Chin?" "You'll know right away." Kyubi was too lazy to speak. Soon, the huge whale approached, but did not come to the port. With such a large size, it would be stranded. On the whale's back, a figure suddenly flew up. Doflamingo squinted and saw that the man was naked, with 2 horns on his head, wings on his back, and a man in his hands. "It's not Emperor Chin, or any member or cadre I've seen before," Doflamingo thought to himself. "It's a new face again. It's really scary. How many people are there in the dream?" He didn't dare to guess, but the guy in the man's hand was even more familiar to him. "That's Kaido's man." Doflamingo was taken aback. "See." After a while, the figure has slowly flew to the pier, and he straightened the guy in his hand. Lost it thrown in front of Doflamingo. Boom. Equals. Seeing this person, Doflamingo's complexion changed greatly, and he said in shock, "Drought. Bastard." Jack was so angry that the bastard dropped him directly, even though he couldn't kill him. "Sure enough, it's Drought Jack." Doflamingo murmured in shock, then raised his head and looked at Qin Yang solemnly. Before he could speak, Qin Yang fluttered his wings and descended. "Doflamingo, this guy is handed over to you for the time being, keep an eye on him." What the hell is going on? This guy is Kaido's subordinate." Qin Yang nodded and said calmly, "That's right. Kaido owes me and other dream debts. I arrested him to pay off the debt, and after a while, Kaido will come to redeem people. Don't worry, I will let Juwei guard here." With that said, he looked at the nine-tailed demon fox. "How are you handling it?" Although he knew the result, he still asked a question, mainly to pretend. "It has been dealt with. The hag and Andy are gone, Nini is staying, and she is now placed in the Doflamingo mansion." "That's good. Let the treasure hunter join the sea beast army as soon as possible. There are countless devil fruits on the seabed, waiting for us to discover." Qin Yang nodded, flapping his wings and taking off again. "I have other tasks, I leave it to you here." Then, as he said that, he raised his hand and flew straight into the air. Without the burden, this time, he flew at full speed and quickly disappeared into the sky. Doflamingo stared blankly at the back, and said after a while, "Who is this guy? It looks terrible." The drought, one of the three disasters, was easily caught. Drought Jack, with a reward of 800 million, is a world-famous pirate whose strength is comparable to that of Admiral. The place he steps on is as dry and rotten as the appearance of a drought, and he eventually perishes. Once a person killed a country, it was a real destruction, and that place is now a dead place. In terms of combat power, I am afraid it is still above Andy Poland. The nine-tailed demon fox glanced at him and said indifferently, "That is the ruler of the abyss, the great demon king of fear." Master class. Doflamingo seemed sluggish. "Isn't there only 3 masters? Earth, sky, ocean?" "That's right." The nine-tailed demon fox chuckled and said, "But we never said that there are only 3 master-level cadres." Doflamingo was completely speechless, and the cognition of the dream became more and more terrifying. Qin Yang flew away from Mysteria and headed to Marine headquarters. Kaido owes him devil fruits, and Marine owes a lot, and now it's natural to ask for it. However, let's change my identity first. Thinking of this, Qin Yang's figure froze and transformed into a holy archangel. The power of evil is gone, and in its place is the light of holiness. Yes, it has fully recovered. Qin Yang felt it for a while and nodded with satisfaction. The transformation of the archangel and the great devil has a flaw. One needs the power of holy light, and the other needs the power of fear, and each time it consumes too much, it will take some time to recover. I don't know what will happen after 4 stars and 5 stars. Quote. These are just small problems, and they will be easy to solve when the star rating is improved. Shaking his head, Qin Yang burst out at full speed, ready to go to Marine to ask for debts. Just as he was about to act, suddenly, in his mind, a pious voice sounded. "Lord Angel, please save the lost little lamb." The voice suddenly sounded without warning. Qin Yang was stunned for a while, and then suddenly said, "This is the Holy Cult Pirates." A month ago, he encountered the Holy Cult Pirates as an angel. At that time, he killed a group of pirates, and he fooled the other party into how to ascend to the kingdom of heaven to find the devil fruit for him. In order to prevent the other party from being found in the future, a holy light was injected into a cadre at that time. Let me see what's going on. While whispering to himself, Qin Yang slowly closed his eyes. Meanwhile, somewhere in the chaos sea of the New World, here is a special ocean 063 called Paradise Sea. The sea area here is not flat, but like a roller coaster in an amusement park, winding and bizarre, like giant sea snakes. The highest sea level here is nearly 5 kilometers. The sea boat rides on the ocean current. Under the guidance of experienced navigators, it can even rush to the Sky Island from here, like a cannonball. At this moment, a pirate ship was stuck there above a paradise ocean current. This is the Holy Cult Pirates. At the bow of the boat, the cadre Algera looked pious, held a cross in his hand, and uttered a holy prayer. "Lord Angel, he murmured. In front of the pirate ship, a flaming flying dragon hovered and danced. The flying dragon had a body of 100 meters and a rein on its neck. On its back, a knight in silver armor held a long spear and pointed it at the pirates. "Saint pirates, hand over the fruits you stole." The knight's voice was low, and judging from his voice, he was in his 40s. Hearing this, Algeria opened her eyes and glared. "This is for the Lord Angel, don't be obsessed with it, Lord Angel will show a miracle soon." "Angel?" The knight laughed and snorted coldly. "Idiot. How can there be?" Suddenly, his words stopped abruptly, staring blankly. On the pirate ship, a piece of holy light emerged from Algera's body. This holy light shines and radiates divine brilliance, as if all the uncleanness in the world will bow their heads under the holy light. But the knight clearly saw that in the holy light, the figure of a six-winged angel gradually condensed. "Heaven, angel!" The knight was dumbfounded, with a bloody expression. Qinyong opened his eyes and looked down at everyone. "I am a holy archangel, a devout believer, what's the matter with you?" Chapter 0229-Mad Sengoku. "I am a holy archangel, a devout believer, what's the matter with you?" Qinyong slowly opened his eyes, and for a while, the holy light made a big splash, and the six wings spread out, as if a real angel had descended. This is not his body, just a phantom manifested by the power of holy light. Algeria was overjoyed, and her expression became more and more pious and fanatical. "Holy angel, a month ago, you let me know where the kingdom of heaven is and how to make amends. During this period of time, I have been following your instructions, looking for devil fruits everywhere, and finally found one. I just didn't expect it. This guy actually wants to snatch it." Hearing this, the knight frowned, and a dissatisfied voice came from under his helmet. "HMPH, obviously you pirates snatched it from our kingdom of God." "Damn the kingdom of God." Algera was furious and scolded. "I dare to call the kingdom of God in a mere human kingdom. I just believed in the rumors, so I went to Sky Island to see the so-called kingdom of God. It's completely fake." After speaking, he folded his hands again and said with pity, "Sir Angel, this guy is blasphemous, please take action and save this lost little lamb." "Do I really think I'm omnipotent?" Qinyong slandered endlessly. He is now in the starting sea area of the New World. He wants to transmit power through the air, but he can't do it. Maybe a 5-star archangel can give it a try. Now he is only 3-star. It would be nice to use a holy light to manifest the phantom. Thinking like this, he secretly said in his heart, "This guy still doesn't know that the archangel is the master cadre of dreams." The dreamy king of nights killed the captain of the Holy Church pirates, God, Meredith. And the archangel is the master cadre of dreams. If Algera already knew, I am afraid that he will not be so pious, but consider how to avenge the captain. This knight doesn't know either. It's been more than half a month since the Battle of Cake Island, and the news hasn't reached Sky Island. Qinyong thought about it for a while, and immediately put on a solemn and sacred expression, saying, the devil fruit is the power of the devil. If you eat the devil fruit, your soul will become the sacrifice of the devil after death, and you will perish forever." After a pause, he flickered with compassion. "Don't bother to take it back, let me purify such an evil thing." Hearing this, the silver-armored knight on the dragon's back stood up straight, slowly retracted his spear, and said, "Angel, this devil fruit is something of the kingdom of God. These pirates snatch it up in the kingdom of God and kill many knights. Even if I don't want the devil fruit, I have to take the person back and hand it over to the God for judgment." God. Qinyong was stunned, and then thought that the other party should be the king of the kingdom of God. However, the mere king dared to call himself a god, he was even more shameless than him. Thinking of this, Qinyong suddenly flicked his fingers, and a force of holy light shot out and quickly merged into the knight's body. "What have you done to me?" The knight was shocked, feeling some kind of strange power in his body. "It's just a signpost," Qinyong said lightly. "Algera, wanton murder is wrong, you just surrender yourself. When you have time, I will naturally go to rescue you." As he said that, Qin Yang's body flashed and disappeared into nothingness. He doesn't care about Algera's life or death, but he thinks that Sky Island, the kingdom of God, is quite interesting, and there are devil fruits. When there is time, he will definitely go to see it. Degree. As soon as he left, Algera was dumbfounded. No, even the knights were dumbfounded. This angel just gave up his followers. He was ready for a big fight. After a while, both of them came back to their senses. Knight snorted coldly and said, "Lord Angel still understands the truth. You make mistakes first. Obediently return to the kingdom of God with me to be judged." Saying that, he suddenly stabbed with a gun. Under this shot, a puncture was made in the air, and the pirate ship was pierced in an instant. "Ah, Lord Angel." Algera was still praying, her face full of sadness. "Is this a punishment for me?" At the same time, the new world, above the starting sea area. Qin Yang opened his eyes, touched his nose, and muttered rather embarrassedly, "Your life or death is none of my business, just a piece of fruit, and you want me to go all the way to save people." If Algera grabbed 3 or 5 fruits, Qin Yang said that he would have to change his way to take the fruits first, but only one, and the distance was so far, that he was too lazy to turn around. In contrast, the knight's strength is not bad, which makes Qin Yang curious about the so-called Sky Island Kingdom. "Forget it, first go to Marine headquarters to get paid." Shaking his head, Qin Yang temporarily put the matter aside, his wings shook, and he immediately entered a state of ultra-high-speed flight. First half of the Great Passage, Marine headquarters, Marineford. In one of the highest meeting rooms in the headquarters building, a group of Marine executives were negotiating. Sengoku's spirit is not very good, but his face is very serious. The great demon lord of fear is real. He woke up once 30,000 years ago, and this time, his purpose is to destroy the world. Sengoku spoke in a deep voice, his eyes flickering. This is a more important goal than the dream, and the 3 emperors. The Marines below looked at each other, all speechless. 30,000 years ago. The ghost knows that 30,000 years of history, 800 years ago, there is a blank section, 30,000 years ago, it was a fairy tale. The marshal has gone crazy lately. Yeah, I heard that I had a nightmare some time ago, and since then, I have been talking about the great demon king of fear every day. Also asked the government's intelligence organization to investigate myths, legends, biographies, and want to find information about the great demon king. Meeting room, whispering. Sengoku's face was ashen. How could these idiots not believe it? The great demon lord of terror, it really exists. No doubt, I saw it with my own eyes. Sengoku spoke again angrily. This time, even Suru Vice Admiral, who was on the side, looked strange, coughed dryly, and said in a low voice, "Sengoku, you've been under too much stress recently, so take a good rest." She was saving face. Garp was different, laughing loudly. "Ha ha ha, Sengoku, you're already confused." He laughed unabashedly, nibbling on the senbei. "Maybe you're sick, I suggest you see a doctor." "Garp, you bastard, shut me up." Sengoku was furious. Why are his subordinates all such idiots? Cough cough. Suru Vice Admiral straightened his face and said, "First report on the recent mission." "Yes," a Vice Admiral hurriedly said. "About Andy Poland, his traces have been found. Near the starting sea area of the New World, there is an old woman who is traveling with him, wearing a silver-white cloak, according to intelligence personnel. The investigation seems to be called the Ghost Mother-in-Law." Ghost Mother-in-Law. Suru Vice Admiral's expression changed slightly. This woman isn't dead yet. So, her words can indeed save Andy. It seems that we have wronged dream. Saying that, she glanced at Sengoku. At that time, it was found that Andy was rescued, but Sengoku was so angry that he called directly and went to ask the dreamer. Seeing this, Sengoku's face became darker and he said dissatisfiedly, "The unicorn pirates have collapsed. Although Andy Poland is important, the fear of the great demon king is even more critical. He is going to destroy the world. We absolutely must." Ha ha ha, Garp continued laughing. What dread lord, something that doesn't exist, Sengoku, where are you going to find it? However, at this moment, a holy light shone. At the window of the office, holy light was projected in, and the figure of a six-winged archangel gradually appeared. Chinyang took a step and said calmly, "No, the great demon king of fear is real, and our dream is also looking for him." Hearing this, many people's expressions changed slightly. But Sengoku was shocked, and there was a hint of relief in his heart, and finally someone understood. As expected of a dream, it's not the same as his group of idiots. This time, Sengoku felt that the dream was a lot more pleasing to the eye. However, I'm here to ask for a debt today. Chinyang Isho said, Sengoku, pay back the devil fruit you owe. Chapter 0230-Kill the Big Devil. The third update a little late, sorry. The dreamy master of the sky suddenly appeared, and quietly broke into the highest meeting of the Marine headquarters. This made the generals look ugly. If the other party was malicious, under a sneak attack, half of the people here would be killed or injured. Damn it, no one raised the alarm. No, this guy is invading from the air, and the door of justice can't stop him at all. Flying ability, that's a big problem. A group of people communicated in low voices, looking at Chinyang with very alert eyes, and some even held the hilt of their swords, ready to shoot at any time. Don't be impulsive. Sengoku raised his hand and stopped the Vice Admiral. Archangel, you said just now that your dreams are also looking for the great demon Lord of Fear. He narrowed his eyes and stared at each other. In the first dream, the great demon King of Fear claimed to be the Master of the Abyss, and came from the Dream Pirates. False betrayal of the Lich King, he will never be foolish enough to believe it a second time. What the Abyss dominates betrayal and the like. Looking at the other party's expression, Chinyang could guess what Sengoku was thinking, and he just said calmly, hand over the devil fruit first. The agreement has ended, except for the initial deposit, 6 more are to be delivered. There is 1 per month for the sealing fee, a total of 7 fruits. Quote. 7 fruits. Sengoku felt a pain in the flesh. Marine does have a spare devil fruit, which is usually used to reward potential Marines who have done great deeds, but the number is not large. Taking out 7 at a time, 997 can be said to be traumatic, especially it is to deliver 1 every month in the future. Gritting his teeth, Sengoku said solemnly, go and bring the prepared fruits. After speaking, he looked at the Archangel again and said, what do you want to say about the great demon King of Fear? I know very well that he is your dominant cadre. That's right. However, when I confirm that the fruit is correct, I will naturally give you some information. Chinyang calmly admitted that this was the reason why he didn't need to transform into the Marine headquarters. Soon, several sailors walked into the conference room, put 7 small boxes on the table, and then opened them one by one, and there were 7 devil fruits of different shapes inside. After scanning, Chinyang confirmed that the 7 fruits were real. Very well, Marine really keeps his word. Chinyang, Vivi Isho, waved his hand, and a gentle force of holy light shot out, like a big hand, and easily grabbed the 7 boxes. Getting the devil fruit, he said, for the sake of your trustworthiness, I will tell you the information about the great demon king for free. Hearing this, Sengoku was shocked, but he wanted to see what the dream had to say. Just listen to Chinyang. First of all, the great demon King of Fear does exist. This remark once caused a commotion in the conference room. It's unfounded, this kind of thing is outrageous. A vice admiral questioned _. That's right, if you say it exists, come up with some evidence. Hearing this, Chinyang glanced at the doubters, believe it or not. The crowd was speechless. Sengoku said, he's your master of the abyss, isn't he? That's what he said when he invaded my dreams. That's right. It was an experimental error. Chinyang shook his head and said, I can't tell you the specific information. After he finished speaking, he changed his words, all I can say is that I, etc., also tried to destroy him, but he is too strong to kill. The group of Vice Admiral looked at each other. Sengoku narrowed his eyes and said, "What do you mean?" Chinyang chuckled and said, "Literally, I can't do anything about him. If you want to kill him, you can only go through a dream." Dream? Sengoku's expression changed slightly. "If you want to deal with the great demon king of fear, this is the best way." Chinyang said solemnly, "As long as you kill the other party in your dream, the other party will really die. Of course, it is impossible to do it alone. It was successful. If you don't believe it, just try it out in a dream tonight. Remember to call out the name of the great demon king in your heart before you dream." Murder in a dream. Sengoku felt incredible and asked, "Why don't you do it?" "I can't do it." Chinyang shook his head. "A person's dream can't be killed. Only when countless people join forces can it be done. According to my calculations, at least 1 million people need to dream together to be able to kill. Of course, it is only possible, if there are tens of millions of people, the success rate will be 50%. Tens of millions of people dream, and when Chinyang spreads fear again, he might be able to harvest an incalculable power of fear at one time. Dread Demon King can easily reach his peak state. Of course, this is only Chinyang's estimate, and it depends on whether Sengoku will help him. After hearing this, Sengoku's eyes flickered, and no one knew what he was thinking. After a while, he said, "What is the meaning of millions of people dreaming? Everyone's dream is not independent. I don't know the specifics. But I have experimented with the dream. Once, 2 members of us had the same dream, and they met in the dream together to deal with the great demon king of fear. At that time, they slightly injured each other, and later in a dream, the other party did not recover from the injury." Quote. The old god Chinyang was there and said exactly what he said. From this, we infer that if you were injured in a dream, you were really hurt. As for the dreamer, they will not be injured at all, they are just dreaming. After finishing speaking, Chinyang turned around and walked to the window. "Sengoku, if you want to kill the great demon king of fear in your dreams, I will also be happy to do so. After all, he is the product of a failed experiment, and we cannot let him ruin the reputation of our dreams. Then, goodbye." After speaking, he laughed playfully, turned into a holy light, and quickly disappeared. Sengoku's eyes were dignified, thinking about these words in his mind. He didn't believe it, and felt that there was some trap. Fear the devil has something to do with fantasy, that's for sure. But what the archangel said, the product of a failed experiment, must be considered. Moreover, murder in a dream is unreliable no matter how you hear it. Just, where is the trap? What is their purpose? Sengoku frowned deeply, and continued to analyze in his heart. From just now, he has been guiding, wanting to use my power to kill the great demon king in a dream. However, doing so will be beneficial to them. What's the benefit? Or, this time, what the other party said is true. No, you can't believe a word of what the pirates say, especially the dream. He thought about it for half an hour. Suddenly, Sengoku raised his head sharply, and then announced in a low voice, "If this is the case, then I will see what happens when I kill the great demon king of fear in my dream. Everyone, spread the news to the outside world and let more people know about the great demon lord of fear," and then. Next, Sengoku begins to lay out the means. He wants to kill the great demon king in his dream. He knew that there must be some kind of purpose in the dream, but he couldn't guess it for the time being. In that case, he followed the other party's meaning and tried to test the truth. As for what the archangel said, what experiment failed, he didn't believe a word of it. A group of lawless pirates would say such important information. That's impossible. Besides, it's just a dream, and death has no cost. Chinyang got 7 fruits and left Marine headquarters directly. Originally, he had 4 fruits, and it cost 2 to upgrade the Shadow Demon. After that, he got 1 from Jack, and now he got 7. Now, the number of devil fruits in his hand has reached 10. 10 fruits. Chinyang nodded with satisfaction. You can upgrade the Shadow Demon to 5 stars at one time, but let's wait, maybe Caesar has developed an artificial devil fruit. If there are more, it can be used to upgrade the Archangel, or Great Demon King. Shaking his head, Qin Yang put it away for the time being, then looked at the marine headquarters behind him and chuckled lightly. Sengoku should be suspicious, right? It doesn't matter, he will definitely try it. As long as he tries, it will be a lot of fear at that time. He, I thought it was a dream, so nothing will happen. In the dark laughter, Qin Yang quickly walked towards the island of the dead. Chapter 0231-Artificial Zone Fruit. If you kill the big devil in your dream, what will happen? Meeting room of the headquarters, Sengoku has been thinking about this question. Previously, the Archangel had been guiding him, letting him kill the big devil in his dream. Why was he in a dream? Why did the dream want to kill the big devil? The failure of the experiment is just rhetoric and cannot be regarded as true. Since even this is false, then their reason for wanting to kill the Great Demon King is not valid. No, from another perspective, is the other party's purpose not to kill the Great Demon King? Even killing the Great Demon King is just a rhetoric, the purpose is just to make me do this action. After pondering for a long time, a new guess suddenly appeared in Sengoku's mind. Millions of people, even tens of millions of people dream, kill the big devil in the dream. In this series of actions, what kind of benefits will the dream get? Killing the Great Demon King is not the goal is his actions, the goal is millions of people dream, and make inferences based on this, and slowly get closer to the truth. However, Sengoku still can't think of it. If Qin Yang knew what he was thinking, he would be surprised, because he was very close to the truth. Does not mean the truth, and Qin Yang has already calculated it. Even if he knows that there is a trap, Sengoku will fall into it. After a long time, Sengoku sighed, rubbed his temples, and muttered, the information is not equal, and there is too little information. If we can find out the existence of the Great Demon King of Fear from the myths and legends, maybe we can analyze it. After a pause, he said to himself, however, at least a few points can be determined. The first point is that by reciting the name of the Great Demon King of Fear before going to bed, you can attract the other party into your dream. The second point is that if you are injured in a dream, the big devil will be injured. This is just what the Archangel said. The truth is uncertain, considering that it may be a scam, we still have to verify it. Sengoku's eyes flickered. First confirm the authenticity of these two pieces of information, and then spread the matter of the Great Demon King in a small area. And then based on the reaction of the sample, maybe we can figure out the purpose of the dream. Quote, 1 million, 10 million people dream, thus killing the big devil. This kind of thing is too involved, and Sengoku can only take it step by step. First determine the true and false, and then conduct a small-scale experiment. In this process, you may be able to see the purpose of the dream and find out the loopholes in the lie. If everything is normal, what about killing once in a dream? It's just a dream, he has personally experienced being killed in a dream, and it really won't have an impact. Thinking of this, Sengoku spoke again, gave some orders, and finally said solemnly, although the dread demon is the most urgent, never let go of your vigilance against dreams, they are more troublesome than the dread demon. Dead Island. At the speed of the Archangel, it only takes a few hours to go from the marine headquarters to the undead island. Before night fell, Qin Yang returned here, of course, not as an Archangel, but as the Lich King. The bald man greeted him at the door, and when he saw the Lich King appear, he immediately greeted him. Lord Lich King. Qin Yang waved his hand and walked into the castle. Where's Caesar? In the laboratory. How was his research during this time? Qin Yang asked. He will report the progress every time after a while. The latest time, he said that there was a breakthrough. The bald man replied cautiously. Qin Yang is noncommittal, the meaning of this is that it has not yet succeeded. Immediately, under the leadership of the bald man, he entered the laboratory. Inside the lab, Caesar stood outside a cage and fed a devil fruit to a cheetah. The leopard was forcibly fed the fruit, and his eyes suddenly became fierce. After a while, his body changed, and his claws became stronger. Not only that, his teeth began to grow longer, his hair turned white, and his whole body trembled. There are all kinds of strange changes. Hey, kitty, be obediently transformed. Caesar laughed strangely. But just as he finished speaking, the leopard roared, and then passed out. That's it again. Asshole. Caesar said angrily, what's the problem? Suddenly, his eyes caught a glimpse of the figure at the entrance, and he immediately shivered. Lich King. Qinyang ignored him and asked Fantasy Jean to scan. Scanning completed. Found mysterious power, very weak, orientation. Fantasy Jean's answer pointed to the remaining small half-devil fruit. Qinyang walked over, looked down and said, is this an artificial devil fruit? No, it's just a semi-finished product. Caesar took a deep breath and said quickly, give me a little more time, I can definitely make a finished product. I have mastered the key to the technology, so that ordinary fruits can be born like demons. A strange power like a fruit, but this power is not stable. In general, when you eat a devil fruit, the power in the fruit will enter the human body. But this kind of man-made, take a bite, that is the power of a bite, there will be residual power left. Of course, this is only one of the problems. What really caused Caesar's headache was this artificial zone fruit. There were no experimental subjects that could withstand it. In the recent experiments, the experimental subjects had all fainted, and then died within a few days. Well done. Qinyang nodded, patted Caesar's shoulder, and said, I had already planned to give up on you, but I didn't expect you to be useful. Caesar shivered with a chill all over his body. Your artificial zone is very similar to genetic modification, but it doesn't matter, keep experimenting. As long as you can succeed, it will naturally benefit you, and it will also give you freedom. Qinyang encouraged him and turned to leave. After discovering that the ability to kill people can be parasitized by devil fruits, his need for artificial zone devil fruits is not so urgent. Seeing that Caesar has made a breakthrough now, I am also a little happy at the moment. Varian, keep an eye on him and don't give him any chance of escaping. Qinyang instructed the bald man, and then returned to his room. The next moment, he transformed himself into the great demon king of fear. After taking out 10 fruits and placing them on the table one by one, Qinyang began to think about which transformation to upgrade. 12 to upgrade the 4-star Archangel, which is not enough, but it is enough to upgrade the 5-star Shadow Demon. 5-star Shadow Demon, but you can open a 2-star Phantom God. Let's go to the Shadow Demon first. Just thinking about it, Qinyang's thoughts moved, and he felt dozens of calls. These summons call for the name of the great demon Lord of Fear. Sengoku that Qinyang is familiar with. After pondering for a while, Qinyang reacted and said with a smile, it's quite cautious. What I said during the day will be verified that night. Well, just to play with you. With a flash of eyes, Qinyang immediately responded to the call, and then the situation changed, and at the same time, he invaded the dreams of dozens or hundreds of people. I am the great demon king of fear, human, this is the 3rd time we have met. Looking at Qinyang who suddenly appeared, Sengoku's face changed slightly. It's true, too, it's impossible for a dream to lie in such an obvious place. Thinking of this, Sengoku snorted coldly, turned into a golden Buddha directly, and slapped Qinyang with his palm. The great demon Lord of Fear, I will suppress you today. Chapter-222, 5-star Shadow Demon. Open black lens bracket second update close black lens bracket. Boom. Dozens and hundreds of dream worlds were shattered together, and under the power of the great demon king of fear, the spread of fear was very smooth. Great Demon King. Sengoku yelled angrily, was killed again, was slapped to death, and collapsed with his own dream. He wanted to experiment, leave a little trauma to the great demon king of fear, and see if the other party would recover next time they met in a dream. As a result, after a great battle, he was instantly killed. In a dream, the great demon lord of fear can be defeated by human power. Not to mention killing, encountering each other is a miracle. Marin Fodor, in a lounge in the headquarters building, Sengoku suddenly woke up, sweating profusely. Damn, he whispered through gritted teeth. I shattered my dream with one palm. How can such an opponent create trauma? It's impossible. He was shocked and angry, and it took him a while to look around. In the lounge, there are dozens or hundreds of Marine generals and officers. These people are the main fighting force of the headquarters. At this moment, they are all lying down and falling into nightmares. Soon, these people also woke up one by one, and all of them looked dazed and terrified. That's the great demon lord of fear. This monster can be killed. It can't be killed at all. He can sink the earth with one finger. Everyone had nightmares, looked at each other, still harboring a deep sense of disbelief. The matter has come to this point, no need to say it clearly, everyone knows that the great demon king of fear really exists. Marshall, a vice admiral, wiped his cold sweat and couldn't help but say, the method of dreaming is not reliable at all. Killing that kind of monster in a dream is simply a fantasy. Hearing this, Sengoku fell into silence. Spread the news in a small area. Tomorrow, we will continue to experiment. The big devil in the dream can be so strong that it can destroy the world, but haven't you found it? We can also exert our strength beyond normal in the dream. Undead Island, large bedroom. Chinyang easily shattered hundreds of dreams and gained a considerable amount of fear. He walked to the mirror and found a mysterious pattern on the devil's horn above his head. I really want to get stronger. Chinyang murmured in surprise, and then asked, Huan, can you break through the limit of 3 stars by absorbing enough power of fear? Have you discovered it yet? Fantasy Jean gained a little spirituality and replied, actually, an archangel can do it too. You don't need a devil fruit, and you can break through to 4 stars or even 5 stars by absorbing faith. Forget about faith, that thing is a chronic poison. Chinyang shook his head, then smiled, it's the big devil, but using the power of fear has no sequelae. Backquote. As he said that, his thoughts turned into a shadow demon. Vivi closed his eyes, his gaze seemed to penetrate an endless distance, projecting where Sengoku was. In the lounge of Marine's headquarters building, everything that happened was under the gaze of the shadow demon. 5 minutes later, Chinyang opened his eyes and said softly, Sengoku discovered that he can also affect dreams. It's faster than expected, but it's expected. This is a matter of time. Chinyang is not surprised, but Sengoku has become more cautious, which makes him a little helpless, thinking about how to add fire. Forget it, don't think about it for now, upgrade the shadow demon first. Shaking his head, Chinyang walked to the table and pressed his hand on the devil fruit to absorb the mysterious power within it. 3-star shadow demon upgrades to 4-star, consumes 3 fruits. 4-star shadow demon upgrades to 5-star, consumes 6 fruits. 9 pieces are just right. The remaining one is naturally the mirror fruit. This fruit is quite special and will be kept for the time being. I saw the 9 fruits on the table, which turned into powder in a short time and dissipated. A huge mysterious power flowed into Chinyang's body, quickly nourishing his shadow. Puff! The shadow demon scattered into a mass of black mist, filling the entire room. This state lasted for a full 10 minutes before it gradually began to gather. The black fog condensed and finally turned into a shadow demon again. At the same time, in Chinyang's mind, information about the shadow demon quietly emerged. Second variation, Shadow Demon. Star rating. Ability 1, Shadow Manipulation. Ability 2, Space Jump. Ability 3, Black Sky. Ability 4, Shadow Doll. Ability 5, Shadow World. Haha, another full star. Phantom God can also reach 2 stars. Chinyang felt a burst of joy in his heart, and immediately felt it silently. Fourth ability, Shadow Doll. This ability is very powerful, the shadow demon hides itself in the shadow of the target character, and can control the target character's actions, battles, etc. Even speaking, it can be controlled, and the other party will be bound by invisible power like a puppet. The moment he realized this ability, Chin-Yong thought of Gecko Moria. Shadow fruit is really a nemesis. This control method can only be done through the shadow. I am afraid that even the four emperors can't resist, so Moria can counter it. However, this guy is nowhere to be found now, but I can save it. Shaking his head, Chin-Yong continued to study the fifth ability. The fifth ability, Shadow World, this ability is better understood and more powerful. Literally, the shadow demon has a special world. After understanding this ability, Chin-Yong couldn't help but look surprised. This ability can completely hide people and objects, and cooperate with space jump. Chin-Yong took a deep breath and felt the horror of 5-star again. In the past, the most troublesome thing about shadow demons was not the problem of day and night, but the inability to carry anything to space jump, including devil fruits. The same is true now. You can't carry people or objects, but the shadow world can. As long as you hide people or objects in it, you can do similar things. It is equivalent to the shadow demon putting things in another world, and after making a space jump, they take out the things in the shadow world from another place. Any transformation, 5-star ability will always be the strongest. Chin-Yong murmured softly. Sure enough, even a non-combat type transformation like Shadow Demon, a 5-star transformation is so scary. Saying that, Chin-Yong suddenly remembered the Phantom God, and the 0th change should now reach 2 stars. 2-star Phantom God, what kind of power does he have? Just as he made the main body appear 3.9, Chin-Yong felt a call. It's Nico Robin, she's in the 7 waters. After hesitating for a while, Chin-Yong put down the Phantom God for a while, and with a thought, he traveled directly through the space and reached the capital of 7 waters in an instant. The capital of 7 waters, an island in the first half of the Great Route, is very famous. According to Chin-Yang's knowledge, this is another, water city Venice. At this moment, in a hotel in the capital of 7 waters, Nico Robin was wearing a cape, her face a little anxious, and she kept mumbling. Shadow demon, shadow demon. Suddenly, a wisp of black smoke drifted past, the space distorted, and a mysterious figure slowly emerged. Shadow demon. Nicole Robin widened her eyes, then breathed a sigh of relief. Chin-Yong looked at the girl and nodded with satisfaction. Good job, but you seem to be in trouble. Chapter 0233_Fantastic Prestige. Chin-Yong looked at Nico Robin. The little girl was wearing a gray cloak and looked like she was in a state of turmoil, but there was a little anxiety on her face. Chin-Yong felt it, and found that Marine was approaching outside the hotel, and there were about 30 people. You seem to be in trouble. Chin-Yong chuckled. Still in the mood to laugh. Nicole Robin pursed her lips and said in a very fast tone, After you left that day, I completed my last mission in the casino, left quietly, and mixed in with a team of pirates. Stop. Chin-Yong shook his head, stretched out his hand and said, I don't care about this, it doesn't matter what the process is, it's enough to have results. You have shown your ability and wisdom. In short, you are welcome to join and become a member of the outer circle of the dream. An 18-year-old girl, and a bounty criminal, in such a short period of time, from West Blue to the 7 waters, the process is naturally arduous. However, so what? It is a test in itself. Chin-Yong is not interested in the process and only pays attention to the results. Hearing this, Robin breathed a sigh of relief, and then said, After I entered the 7 waters, I was targeted by Marine for some reason. Now, they have chased down the hotel. Only when she got here did she know that there is a Marine in the capital of the 7 waters, and there is a warship docked in the port. Just as he was talking, there was a knock on the door. The action was very rude, and at the same time there was a loud shout. Gate of opening. We are Marine. Suspect there is a bounty hiding in the room. Quick gate of opening. What should I do? Robin's expression changed slightly, and he immediately looked at the shadow demon. In this regard, Chin Young raised his chin and gestured. They let you gate of opening, you just need to gate of opening. Don't forget, you are a dreamer now, give them 10 courage, and they will not dare to arrest you. Hearing this, Robin opened his mouth, wanting to say that you are not joking. However, seeing the shadow demon so calm, she was also infected a little, took a deep breath, and walked slowly to the door. Just as soon as the door was opened, with a bang, Marines from outside rushed in, and then the muzzles of the black guns were raised and aimed at the house. Don't move. Then, a middle-aged colonel in a justice coat with a cigar in his mouth stepped in. The colonel had a scary scar on his face and held a wanted notice in his hand. He stared at Robin a few times, and then lowered his head to confirm. That's right, she is the child of the devil, Nico Robin. The colonel snorted coldly and said, catch it up. Be careful, she is a capable person. Yes. Immediately, a soldier took out the sea-stone handcuffs and approached Robin. Seeing this, Robin was in a hurry. She couldn't help but glance at her side, but found that the shadow demon was gone. Critical juncture, she hurriedly shouted, I am a dream. Huh, the colonel frowned. Dream. I am dreamy. Hash. Robin's words stopped. She was thinking, is she a chorus worker, an intelligence officer, or a killer? What is this else? However, this thought was only for a moment and she pretended to be calm and said, I have joined the Dream Pirates. What? The colonel's face changed slightly, staring at Robin, and the rest of the sailors were shocked. Dream. These two words seem to be of great importance. Just saying them can deter these Marines. Robin watched this scene in amazement. She was keenly aware of the changes in the air, especially the colonel, whose face was gloomy and uncertain. Humph. Suddenly, the colonel said in a deep voice, you lie. What kind of pirate group is Dream? You can join them. Catch them. The Dream Pirates are a top force that is even more terrifying than the 4 Emperor Pirates. From the above command, there is a special exhortation not to easily conflict with the Dreamer. However, the colonel has met many guys who use the name of fantasy to do evil before, and they are all liars. Naturally, Nicole Robin was also classified by him. She's ours. At this moment, a voice came from the void. A group of sailors widened their eyes, only to see a wisp of black smoke wafting out of the darkness ahead, twisting and turning into a figure. Shadow Demon. The colonel was shocked. Including him, all the Marines retreated, and the atmosphere suddenly became strange. Impossible. How could the child of the devil join you? He said unacceptably. The information about the dream can be piled up into a mountain, and the members of the Dream Marine has also studied. Every member is a unique pirate, powerful and strange. Like Nicole Robin, only because of its particularity has a bounty of 78 million, and its combat effectiveness is not worth mentioning at all. Chin Yong said lightly, we are accepting people, do we still need to inform you Marine? No, the colonel's face was very ugly, the shadow demon was here, and they couldn't arrest anyone at all. Then why don't you get out? Chin Yong waved his hand and said, go back and tell Sengoku that Nico Robin is now my member of the Dream Pirates. Speaking of this, even Chin Yong couldn't help but sigh, saying that the errands didn't sound very pleasant, and immediately changed his words, it's our cook. That's it, you can get out. Damn, let's go. The colonel stared at the shadow demon fiercely, and turned around after a moment. He didn't dare to do it. It wasn't because he couldn't beat the shadow demon, but if he made a move against Dream, it would cause unpredictable consequences. Come back. The colonel's body froze, and he said angrily, what else? How do you know that she's here? Chin Yong then asked. By chance. With a snort, the colonel left angrily. He walked outside the hotel and couldn't help but punch the wall, damn Dream. Colonel, what should I do? Go and report to Kuzan Admiral first. With that said, the group quickly left. Marine who was walking away in amazement. She couldn't believe it if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. Just a name scared away Colonel Marine, not even daring to say a few more words. Dream pirates, what kind of existence are they at the end of 040? He couldn't help but look at the shadow demon. Robin's mood was complicated. The prestige of this group of people was so great that even Marine had to retreat. She opened her mouth. Just as she was about to say something, Chin Yong spoke first. Your strength is too weak. Although you are not a combatant, we will not ask you how strong your strength is, but at least you must have powerful enough to protect yourself. Quote. What is the standard of self-protection power? Robin didn't know how to express his feelings at the moment. After a while, he had no choice but to say, where is our ship? Ship? Chin Yong was stunned and shook his head. No such thing. He usually relies on flying, and occasionally let the Sea Beast Legion travel. The slow things like sea ships are meaningless. Where's the pirate flag? I've never seen a dream flag. Neither. Chin Yong thought about it for a while, then smiled. Just right, you should design a dreamy flag first. As he spoke, he also walked to the window, where he could see a lot of marine. Robin on the side was speechless. What kind of pirate group is this? There is no flag and no ship. If Colonel Marine was not scared away just now, she would have wondered if she had been deceived. After a moment of silence, she asked, what's the special meaning of you letting me come here? Huh? Chin Yong glanced at her and praised, yes, very smart. You are here because there is something that can be dealt with. What do you want to do? Robin tensed. Pluto's design drawings. Chapter 0234-Dark Moon Night. The first update. It seems that I haven't asked for an automatic for a long time. Ask for an automatic, 2333. Pluto's design drawings. Robin's expression changed slightly, and he looked at the shadow demon in surprise. Chin Yong raised his eyebrows and said, you also know ancient weapons. It really is an ancient weapon. Robin shook his head and whispered, I have seen relevant records when I was a child. Somewhere in the world, there are 3 ancient weapons that can subvert the world hidden. You know, what do we do when we get the drawings? Don't worry, we have no interest in destroying the world. Chin Yong said, it's just a task given by the captain. I got the blueprint so that it won't fall into the hands of others, especially Marine. Marine gets the blueprints and finds someone who can read ancient texts. With the power of the world government, maybe he can really build a terrifying war machine in a short period of time. At that time, fantasy must be the #1 goal. Of course, after we get the blueprint, we will make a fake copy and sell it. Chin Yong said softly, the design drawings of ancient weapons, those who are willing to pay a high price, can go from West Blue to East Blue. So it is. Robin breathed a sigh of relief. Although she joined the dream, she still couldn't keep up with the rhythm. He. Seeing her relieved, Chin Yong couldn't help but laugh. It's not the time to relax. You join us. The first task is to find the blueprint of Hades in the Seven Waters City, and find a way to get it. My mission. Robin widened his eyes and looked at Chin Yong in disbelief. At ease, I will give you basic information. Chin Yong stretched out a finger and said calmly, the first piece of information, the blueprint is in the hands of a shipbuilder named Tom. Of course, he may have been transferred. Second information, the CP5 of the world government has been keeping an eye on you. Tom is now a death row prisoner. He used the construction of a sea train as a bargaining chip to exonerate him and asked Marine to give him a 10-year probation. The train hasn't opened yet. Marine could flip the table at any time. You'll have to figure it out yourself. The third piece of information, the legendary Great Pirate Golden Lion is also in the Seven Waters. They also aimed at the blueprint. How to grab food, you can find a way. The fourth piece of information, Marine Admiral Kuzan is also in the Seven Waters. The reason why you were discovered by Marine as soon as you landed on the island was a coincidence. The purpose of Kuzan's coming here was to invite a pirate to join Shichibukai. Mark, the bounty is 320 million. Of course, to be selected and invited to join Shichibukai, the strength must exceed the bounty. After talking a lot, Qin Yang looked at Robin. The girl has fallen into sluggishness, looking at Qin Yang stupidly, unable to say a word. She had seen the strongest pirate in West Blue before, that is, the level of 80 to 90 million. No, she just heard about it. Only after joining the dream, the opponent immediately became the legendary Thai pirate, Marine Admiral, Shichibukai, the world government please organize. $. The paler Robin's face became. Mission failed, are you going to sacrifice my blood? FFW underscore is less than or equal to underscore. Ha ha ha, no, don't scare yourself. Qin Yang reached out and touched Robin's head, and said jokingly, don't forget your own advantages, you have a dream mark on your body now, Marine dare not take you, how about it? If your life is in danger, you can call my name, of course, the rest of the members and cadres can also. The rest of the cadres. Robin blinked and asked, who are you in the dream? You will see it later. Qin Yang thought for a while, and then explained, we have a dream, there are many ordinary members, there are cadres above the members, the ordinary cadres have the combat power of admiral level, and there are several dominant cadres above the cadres. Equivalent to the battle strength of the 4 emperors, and further up, there is the deputy captain, and the captain Qin Emperor. Hearing this, the little girl took a deep breath, her face full of shock. She still doesn't know what the 4 emperors mean, but the admiral level understands very well, that is Marine's highest combat power. What kind of monster group is the fantasy pirates I joined? Looking at her expression, Qin Yang said with interest, come on, if you complete this mission beautifully, the captain will let you level up. Then, I'll go first, remember to call my name when I encounter force majeure. Quote. With that said, Qin Yang is about to flash. Wait. Robin quickly grabbed the shadow demon's hand and said nervously, Am I alone to complete such a difficult task? This task is already easy. Don't worry, I will help you when necessary. Qin Yang chuckled lightly, then disappeared into a cloud of smoke. Handing over the task to Robin, he didn't expect the other party to really do it, but wanted to see how far this little girl could do it. Now, he has more important things to do. In the hotel room, Robin was left alone. Her face was pale, and she was obviously frightened by this task. I just joined, I am just doing errands. Not to mention Nico Robin's situation, Qin Yang left the 7 waters and immediately traveled an endless distance to reach the Holy Land Mariajoy. When he was transformed into a shadow demon, he came once and assassinated a Tenryubito. That time, he spent the whole night in the world, using a servant as a signpost, and finally entered. This time, there was the original road sign, and he sneaked into the Holy Land without knowing it. Now that the shadow demon has 5 stars and a shadow world, it's time to loot Tenryubito's treasure house. In the past, there was no way. Shadow demons could not carry devil fruits. This time, the situation was very different. In the darkness, Qin Yang lurked in the shadows, looking at everything around him. This is a room where the servants live. There are 3 wooden beds on which 3 people sleep. Qin Yang quickly recognized the former servant, his eyes narrowed, and he quickly expanded his abilities, Tai Ying Dal. As soon as the voice fell, his body merged into the shadow of the other party. The next moment, the boy's body trembled, and then he got up strangely, kept his eyes closed, and walked out of the room slowly. He seems to be sleepwalking. He walked all the way to the big yard, and when the cold wind blew at night, the little servant suddenly woke up. How am I here? He was terrified. I remember I was sleeping. Shut up. Suddenly, a voice seemed to come from Juyu, and this voice was unforgettable for the young servant's life. The last time I heard it was also on a dark night, and that night, Holy Narudik was assassinated at his home. Yes, it's you, shadow demon. Good memory, lad. Qin Yang said lightly. Don't look, you can't find me. I just asked you a few questions, answer well, you have nothing. Why can't I move? You're manipulating my body. Servant became more and more terrified, Sir, Lord Ying Yao, I don't know anything. After the last incident, the Holy Land was patrolled by Tenryubido's night squad even in the middle of the night. If it is discovered, I'm dead. Then go to hell. No. The little servant trembled and gritted his teeth. What do you want to know? I'm just a servant and know very little. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction and asked directly, the Holy Land Mariajoy, where is the greatest treasure house? Hearing this, the little servant was shocked, and suddenly had a bad premonition. It seems that a major event that will shock the world will happen in the Holy Land tonight. Chapter 0235-Infiltrate the Holy Land. Where is the greatest treasure house in the Holy Land? Hearing Qinyang's question, the little servant trembled for a while. Could this lawless murderer want to loot Tenryubito? Seeing that he didn't answer for a long time, Qinyang immediately manipulated the other's body. The little servant was horrified to find that his right hand was lifted uncontrollably, pinching his neck, and gradually increasing his strength. I don't know. There are 19 Tenryubito families in the Holy Land. Each family has its own family and branches. A treasure house, that's the family's secret. I'm a servant, and I don't know it at all. Really? Qinyang nodded, not surprised, and then asked, which one is the richest? The Menegal family, the servant replied without thinking. Qinyang raised his eyebrows. The Menegal family holds the power to print money from the world government. The portraits on the banknotes circulating in the world today are their ancestors. So it is, big capitalist. Qinyang nodded with satisfaction and asked again, where are they? On Pilgrimage Street, the central area of the Holy Land. From here, go all the way to the northeast. The servant quickly reported a position. The moment he finished speaking, Qinyang quietly left, and he didn't give any warning. With the courage of this guy, he didn't dare to say unnecessary words. According to the direction pointed by the servant, Qinyang turned into a faint wisp of black smoke and quickly drifted away. The Holy Land is very large and is mainly divided into several areas. In the central core area, the 497th mansion of the Menegal family was built here. It was a luxurious mansion with a very large area. Under the lights, you could see the night squad patrolling back and forth. After the last assassination incident, Tenryubito was already in trouble. Once it was night, no one was allowed to go out. At the same time, there would be strong night teams patrolling the streets and houses. Every member of the night squad is a hockey master, and many of them have devil fruit abilities. You want to defend me at this level? Qinyang let out a low laugh, stuck in the shadow of the ground, and slowly entered the mansion. He didn't know where the treasure trove was. He had to control a family member first and ask him out of the other party's mouth. Of course, he didn't care much about the treasure trove or something, mainly because of the devil fruit. Investigate first. Next, Qinyang began to search the mansion, and it took more than an hour to get a general grasp of the situation. Tenryubito, 2 men and 1 woman, were having fun. All 3 were relatively young, no more than 30 years old, 1 older brother, 1 younger sister, and the other seemed to be from another Tenryubito family. While admiring the dancers dance, the 3 discussed something. Qinyang didn't pay too much attention, but quietly sneaked into the study of the patriarch Saint Menegal. In the study, there is a heavy makeup woman Tenryubito. She is standing by the desk, and she asks another person with an ugly face. I've got information about that bitch. She's hiding in Mysteria in the New World. Carrot. Hearing this, the middle-aged man sitting upright said in a deep voice, why do you have a relationship with Doflamingo? After a pause, he said that it was very difficult to hide in his side. What? You want to let her go again? The woman said sharply and viciously. She is just a bastard, a disgrace to our Menegal family, and she must be killed. So, there is Doflamingo's territory. The man frowned and hummed. Don't forget what Doflamingo has in his hands. If he takes that thing, forget it. Let's talk about this later. It has been more than 10 years. Quote. You. Female Tenryubito's face turned blue and white, then turned and left after a while. In the shadow of the window, Chin-young felt a little doubt. He was in such a place and heard Doflamingo's name, and who did she refer to? However, Chin-young knew that the man in the study was Saint Menegal, and the other woman, Tenryubito, was his wife. Ha, troublesome thing. Menegal rubbed his eyebrows with a headache. At this moment, his body froze, and he was shocked to find that he couldn't move, not even a finger. What? Menegal's face changed greatly, feeling a life and death crisis. Be quiet, I know there's a lot of people around, you're not being honest, and I don't mind sending you on your way. The ghostly voice sounded, making Menegal's face even more ugly. You're a shadow demon. Oh, how do you know? Chin-young was like manipulating a puppet, manipulating the other party, and he couldn't help raising his eyebrows when he heard the other party's words. You are the only one in the world who can attack Tenryubito without knowing it and dare to attack Tenryubito. Menegal took a deep breath, barely keeping his composure. Someone wants to buy my life. How much? I'll pay 10 times. Ha 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 ha. Chin-young laughed in a low voice, and his voice became more distant and unpredictable. As expected of the head of the clan, he is completely different from those, garbage. In this case, he can still be so calm, so let me give you a compliment. For this kind of compliment, Menegal couldn't be happy at all. He slowed down his tone and said, I have no grudge against you, Dream, and you are just a killer. No matter who paid for my life, I can pay 10 times as much. How's it going? HMPH, don't be smart. Chin-young was too lazy to talk to the other party and asked directly, where is your treasure house? Treasure house. Menegal's expression changed slightly. 10 billion. Just take the money and go. I can pretend that nothing happened. I really can't cry without seeing the coffin. When Chin-young thought about it, he immediately controlled the opponent. Menegal looked horrified. He found that his hands were actually pinching his neck, and he exerted enough force to suffocate him. Stop. I see, I'll cooperate with you, he said with difficulty. It's good to be like this, why bother? Chin-young pouted. You say, I control your body. The treasury is in the basement. Menegal took a breath and gritted his teeth. Leave from the study, turn left, and go straight. Basement, as the name suggests, is an underground warehouse. According to Menegal's guidance, Chin-young controlled the opponent and quickly arrived at the place. The gate of the basement has a special structure, and it took a long time for Chin-young to enter. As soon as the door opened, a large area of golden color shone in his eyes. It was piled up like a hill. Chin-young roughly estimated that it was about 100 tons converted to Bailey. It was more than 400 billion. As expected of a family that has the power to print money. Chin-young couldn't help but be a little surprised. However, his purpose was not going. He scanned the basement a little, but found no mysterious power. Huh, Chin-young frowned suddenly. Are you playing tricks? What? Menegal was annoyed. There are jewelry, goings, antiques, arms, and all kinds of collectibles here, but, Chin-young paused and snorted coldly, where's the devil fruit? Hearing this, Menegal said disdainfully, if you have money, what can't you buy? Money is everything. Things like devil fruits are not worth putting in here. As soon as his voice fell, at this moment, a huge breath enveloped, followed by countless footsteps. You really dare to play tricks? Chin-young narrowed his eyes. It's none of my business. Menegal also widened his eyes. I have been cooperating with you. My life is in your hands, and there is no chance to call anyone. In this regard, Chin-young was noncommittal. The other party has been under his control, and there is indeed no chance to make small moves. Thinking like this, he turned into black smoke and slowly emerged from Menegal's shadow. The space seemed to be distorted, condensing into a dark figure. Chin-young looked at the figure outside the gate of the basement and said calmly, why? Old man. The first figure to arrive was one of the Gorosei, 5 elders. The old man had no hair on his head, wearing a loose white robe, holding a famous knife in his hand, and walking barefoot. Shadow demon. What a troublesome guy. Scratching his head, the old guy couldn't help shaking his head and said, if I had known, I wouldn't be here. Chapter 0236_Tenryubito_. Waiting, I have updated it, the system is delayed, especially the app, it is delayed for a long time. If I had known it was you, I wouldn't have come. The old man holding the sword couldn't help shaking his head. Shadow demon, among the known fantasy members, can be said to be the most difficult character to deal with, and it is even more troublesome than the dominant cadre. It comes and goes without a trace, and it is comparable to Logia's fluid itself. It can't be caught or stopped at all. In the short time he spoke, hundreds of people appeared, all dressed in black suits, surrounding the area. Qinyang saw a few masters and immediately asked, I am curious, how did you find me? This, the bald Gorosei, 5 elders said solemnly, don't underestimate the ability of the devil fruit. Although your recluse ability is very powerful, it doesn't mean that we really see and find it. Able, Qinyang nodded. Observation hockey to find him. If he is hidden in the shadows, even the top observation hockey is difficult to detect. Unless he listens to the power of all things, it is possible to perceive a trace. In addition, there are only some special fruit abilities. Shadow demon, what purpose did you sneak into the Holy Land? The bald Gorosei, 5 elders said coldly, is it another assassination? So what? Qinyang looked calm. Words left Gorosei, 5 elders speechless. He really couldn't think of how to stop the shadow demon's actions. However, there is no way to tell the other party to run away like this. Thinking of this, he laughed and said, I don't think so, this is the treasure house of the Menegal family, you are here for the treasure house. No, money is not that important to you, but for the devil fruit. Seeing this, Qinyang chuckled lightly and said, since you understand in your heart, that's the best thing. Let's do it. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his right hand, and a billow of black smoke spread out, and he grabbed Menegal by his side. How many devil fruits is his life worth? Qinyang was very interested. Menegal holds the power to print money from the world government. If he dies, you should have a headache. Between the words, a shadow blade was already on Menegal's neck. Seeing this scene, the face of the bald Gorosei, 5 elders suddenly turned ugly. Are you crazy? Taking a deep breath, the bald Gorosei, 5 elders said coldly, why do you think Tenryubito can become a world noble? Just because they are the descendants of the 20 kings 800 years ago. Qinyang laughed Isho and said, it seems that you are in a hurry. To tell you the truth, I have some information about Tenryubito in the hands of the dream. This, the bald Gorosei, 5 elders' complexion changed slightly. In the hands of Tenryubito, they hold some kind of national treasure, which is the cornerstone of their world domination. The existence of this thing alone is enough to shake the world. Qinyang, the old god, was present and talked eloquently, once they are forced to a dead end. Tenryubito will wield it, perhaps at a cost, but to wipe out any offender, and even bring disaster to the world. Quote. Since you know, then you dare to kill. Gorosei, 5 elders, face became more and more gloomy. Do you want the world to be destroyed? The destruction of the world, what does it have to do with me? Qinyang snorted softly and said, the world has collapsed, and I won't perish. A mere Tenryubito is also worthy. Don't talk nonsense, use the devil fruit to buy your life. Huh. Bald Gorosei, 5 elders exhaled, seeming to suppress the rage inside. He regained his composure, his eyes were indifferent, and the look he looked at Menegal was almost the same as looking at a dead man. It's a pity that the world government will not compromise. The bald Gorosei, 5 elders raised their right hand and gently waved it down, do it. Whoosh. As soon as the voice fell, a blood-colored pattern appeared on the ground. This pattern is like a poisonous snake. It circles around Qinyang quickly, and the head and tail are connected together. The next moment, a fat figure descended from the sky and landed in front of Qinyang. Boom. Amidst the smoke, the big fat man patted the fat meat and said gruffly, "Puff Puff Lao Su is a sumo wrestler who ate sumo fruit. You can't get out of this circle until you defeat Lao Su." "Yes." "Space system." Qin Yang glanced around and said softly, "No, it should be similar to the ability of the rules. However, just based on this, you still want to trap me?" Curling his lips in disdain, Qin Yang grabbed Menegal beside him, and jumped towards the sky. "You can't escape," the big fat man hummed. "This area, 20 meters underground and 30 meters above the ground, are absolutely blocked areas." Qin Yang was too lazy to pay attention to him. He waved his hand, and thick black smoke enveloped his head. Shadow World. It was as if the sky was torn apart by a crack, and Qin Yang and the two were slowly absorbed into it. He, old man, the good show has just begun, let's meet again." Puff. The rift swallowed the two of them, and then the mouth, like a monster, suddenly closed, and everything returned to calm. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. The big fat man even had a dull expression on his face. How is this possible? I ignored my ability, tearing up the space. Damn dream. The old man held the hilt of the sword, and the veins on his forehead burst out. Isn't he unable to carry people or objects and shuttle? For the research of the dream members, the government has a dedicated group of think tanks. According to the analysis, the conclusion is that the shadow demon does not have the ability to carry things through space, including devil fruits, money, objects, and people. However, this scene in front of him seems to be mocking the wisdom of mortals. A bunch of trash. The bald-headed Gorosei, 5 elders had a strong killing intent, and they couldn't bear the idiots in the think tank. Block the Holy Land. Search the whole city. Announce all Tenryubito shadow demon, appeared. A cold snort, the Gorosei, 5 elders turned and left. He must discuss today's affairs with the rest of the people. The shadow demon would not just leave like this, he must hide in the dark, ready to strike at any time. This is a world of shadows, and the space is filled with thick dark power. There was no earth under his feet, and no sky above his head, and everything seemed chaotic. Menegal looked frightened and looked around, but couldn't see anyone. Don't look for it, I'm right in front of you. Qin Yang sat on the dark throne, looking down at each other, and said, I didn't expect that Gorosei, 5 elders could ignore your life and death. It seems that you Tenryubito are not monolithic. Menegal found himself bound by contact and could finally speak. Immediately sighed and said, Tenryubito is not a whole. There are struggles with each other. Under the circumstances just now, it is impossible for the world government to bow to you for me. I am not afraid to tell you that there are more than 1 or 2 Tenryubito who have been executed. Quote. Like Doflamingo, Tenryubito, who committed a great crime, would have been killed long ago if he could. Even Doflamingo's mother was burned to death in the first place. Qin Yang chuckled, crossed Erlang's legs, and said, Do you want to die, or do you want to live? Of course I don't want to die. I know what you're going to say. Menegal shook his head and said, I will cooperate with you, and I can tell you where the devil fruits you want are. Correspondingly, you help me. To kill a man, like me, is a Tenryubito. Quote. Huh. Qin Yang looked at the other party in surprise, and said with interest, Let me kill another Tenryubito for you. Ha ha, I just like to work with people who know each other. He was very satisfied with the other's attitude. Your purpose, since it is a devil fruit, then I will tell you directly. Menegal said seriously, In the Holy Land, there are a lot of devil fruits, especially in the hands of the world government, which has accumulated an amazing amount all year round. Chapter-221-240 Gorosei, 5 Elders. The first update regarding Mingo's mother. The original work was because of poverty and died of illness, and here it is changed to burn to death. Don't care about the little details. Close black lens bracket. In the Holy Land, there are a large number of devil fruits, especially in the hands of the government, an astonishing amount has accumulated all year round. Menegal looked serious, as if he didn't care about his status as a prisoner. Qin Yang sat on the throne of darkness, with Erlang's legs crossed, staring at each other. How many? The specifics are not clear, but the number is at least 20 or more. This is accumulated by the world government for a long time, and it is stored in a place that is absolutely impossible to conquer. As for the rest of Tenryubito, they will also collect devil fruits, which are generally given to subordinates. More than 20, Chinyang raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. At least, only the Gorosei 5 elders know where they are, but if you want to get them, there is another difficulty. Menegal said, the government has a special army, this army does not belong to Marine, and it is directly under orders. The commander-in-chief of the whole army, Kong Sora, there are more than 20 of them, and each of them is capable, and the sumo wrestler you just saw is one of them. Quote. So it is. Chinyang nodded, guessing that he was discovered because of one of them. However, it is only a special ability, and in terms of fighting technique, it is not a cause for concern. You don't hesitate to tell me this, and you want to kill a certain Tenryubito. Who is this person? You have a grudge. Hearing this, Menegal shook his head and said, as I said just now, Tenryubito is not monolithic, and there are fights. I have a specific grudge with that person, and I don't think you are interested. That person's name is Nichols. Is the head of the Nicholas family. Then, he told Chinyang his specific residence and where the person often haunted. Finally, he said, Nicholas has the devil fruit you want. Hey. Chinyang chuckled and said, there are not many Tenryubito as interesting as you. No problem, I will kill this person. However, before that, I still have a small problem. You ask. I heard everything you talked to your wife in the study earlier. Who is she? Hearing this, Menegal's complexion changed slightly, and it took half a minute for him to let out a sigh of relief. Since you heard it, I'll tell you. That's a shame for our family. I have a younger sister who fell in love with a slave more than 10 years ago, and gave birth to a baby girl. Of course, on the day the child was born, the sister and the slave were exposed and executed, and almost all Tenryubito agreed at the time. Quote. Chinyang was stunned for a while, and at the same time was a little stunned. That baby girl's name is Menegal Nini, of course, her current name is Nini Poland. Menegal's tone was calm, as if he was talking about other people's affairs. Some time ago, you Dream and Marine teamed up to defeat the Unicorn Pirates. At that time, I specifically asked Sengoku to let Nini go. Once caught, the girl's fate will only be one. Family ethics drama. Chinyang chuckled and shook his head. I didn't expect that little girl to have such an identity. I'm afraid Doflamingo doesn't know. I know that you have a partnership with Doflamingo. Since Nini is in your hands, I also implore you, please protect her and don't let her be captured. In this regard, Chinyang was noncommittal. He thinks things are not that simple, but it doesn't matter, he is no longer interested in this. Just stay in this shadow world. Chinyang slowly got up and tapped the space in front of him with his finger. Suddenly, a hole in the shadow world opened, and the outside world could be seen from the hole. Are you going out? Menegal was stunned. I don't recommend you to do this. There must be people in the government's capable army who can find you. It's not that easy to find me. Otherwise, I'd be exposed long ago. Chinyang glanced at him and ignored it. With one step, the person had already walked out of the shadow space. The crack behind him slowly closed, and Chinyang's appearance was still in Menegal's mansion. Go to the Gorosei 5 elders first, and find a way to control one. The next thing will be easier to handle. The only problem is to be careful about that person. However, the ability to come to the other side is also limited. Chinyang was hidden in the shadows, and the whole person scattered into a thin wisp of black smoke. He sneaked into the Holy Land until he was discovered, and there was nearly an hour and a half in between. If he appeared in the Holy Land, the other party would be able to find out. He would have been exposed long ago, and he would not wait until the basement was opened. Thinking of this, Chinyang locked the direction of the World Government Building and approached silently. World Government Building, a towering building. A conference room on the upper floor is brightly lit. The conference room was very quiet, with a round table in the center and 5 tall chairs beside the table, where 5 old men sat. Roughly speaking, that's it. After listening to the detailed content, the expressions of the 5 people are very serious. This is really a headache. The shadow demon dares to come to the Holy Land, but this time, it's the devil fruit. This is a serious provocation to the world government. He must be arrested and put in jail. How to do it? What's the use of talking about it? He came and went without a trace. Even the blocking ability of the sumo fruit couldn't trap him, and he kidnapped Menegal in front of everyone. We can't take him head on, so let's attack their stronghold. The island. No, this can't be done. It's too early to start a war with the annihilation of the dream. At least get the Pluto first. So what? Passive defense. Don't worry, since the shadow demon knows the existence of a national treasure, he doesn't dare to kill Tenryubito unscrupulously. What we need to do is to stop the other party from stealing the devil fruit. It turns out that, with that guy's early warning ability, it's no problem to guard the devil fruit. First notify all Tenryubito families and let them pay attention to their treasure trove. Why don't you use the devil fruit to lay traps? What if the opponent is caught in a trap? The sumo fruit can't block him. Having said this, Gorosei 5 elders suddenly showed a headache. Shadow Demon, a dream messenger, has the ability to ignore physical attacks and travel through space. His own combat power can only be regarded as ordinary, but his ability is strange, and his threat is much greater than that of ordinary cadres. It's really troublesome. It seems that we can only defend first, get through the night, and wait until the day before taking the next move. In the end, the old man with the national character face made a decision, and the other 4 nodded helplessly. However, they did not know that in the corner of the conference room, in a small shadow of light, a wisp of black smoke was watching all this. Soon, the Gorosei 5 elders meeting was dissolved, and the 5 left. The last person to leave was a short old man who looked like a tumbler with a mustache on his mouth. He was leaning on a small cane, and the moment he got up, a puff of black smoke sneaked into his shadow. The next moment, the old man's face changed, and he was shocked to find that he couldn't move. What? He opened his mouth, but couldn't make a sound. You watch the show, old man. In his mind, the voice of the shadow demon sounded, and the old man on crutches was shocked. What did you do? He opened his mouth to ask, but still couldn't make a sound. I have control over your body. 5.6 You can't even speak now, just give up and stop struggling. Qin Yang chuckled twice. At this moment, the sword-wielding old man who had already reached the door suddenly turned around and asked suspiciously, "What's the matter? Is there anything else to say?" "No," Qin Yang slowly stood up and smiled, "It's nothing. I just think that the moon is very round today." Moon. The sword-wielding old man was stunned and looked up at the moon outside the corridor. It was indeed a full moon day. When you're done with this incident, you can enjoy it. Shaking his head, the sword-wielding old man turned and left. Ha ha ha. Qin Yang laughed in his heart, and didn't mind being heard by the old man on crutches. I didn't expect that I would also have the highest power in the world one day. You monster, what have you done? Old man on crutches yelled wildly, what are you going to do with my body? I said, just watch the show. He. With a low laugh, Qin Yang slowly walked out of the conference room with a cane. Chapter 0238 Another Tenryubito disappears. The appearance of the shadow demon was like a pebble thrown into the calm lake, causing an uproar in the Holy Land. The last time he appeared, a Tenryubito died. While sleeping at home, he was shot through the heart and died. This made all Tenryubito furious, fearing for their own safety. Damn dreams. All must be caught and executed. In a mansion in the Holy Land, a middle-aged man with a pot belly was furious. Man's name is Nicholas. Night squads are a bunch of rubbish. It's a mistake to have them guard the Holy Land. In front of Nichols, a man in his early 20s, Tenryubito, smiled and said, "Dad, I heard that Menegal was captured. The information I heard from the government, the purpose of the shadow demon this time, it doesn't seem like which Tenryubito is to be assassinated, but a devil fruit." Hearing this, Nichols's eyes flashed, and he said, "This is a good thing, this guy Menegal is dead now." Pause, he added, "Since the purpose of the shadow demon is for the devil fruit, you can bring the 2 fruits from the treasury. Once the shadow demon wants to kill our family, we will hand over the fruit to him." 15 inches. Yes, Dad. At this moment, the voice of a housekeeper came from the door. "Sir, here comes the Gorosei, 5 elders." Gorosei, 5 elders. Nichols was startled, and he thought to himself, "What are you doing here so late? Could it be related to the shadow demon?" As his own life was at stake, Nichols didn't dare to neglect, and hurriedly got up and went to meet him. However, before he could leave the living room, the door was pushed open, and a short, slightly fat old man walked in with a crutch in his hand. Seeing this, Nichols said quickly, "Gorosei, 5 elders, what are you doing here late at night?" Chinyong raised his hand and asked the accompanying guards to retreat, and then looked at the 2 in the living room. The young Tenryubito, Chinyong turned his gaze to Nichols. "You should know about the shadow demon appearing in the Holy Land, right?" "I know, everyone has heard about such a big thing." Nichols sighed, "I didn't expect that Brother Menegal was taken away. I'm afraid it's worse." He. Chinyong let out a low laugh and murmured inwardly, "Your brother Menegal is asking me to kill you." The 2 must have grievances in private, and it's not a small hatred, otherwise they wouldn't be at the level of wanting to deal with death. Thinking like this, Chinyong imitated the old man's way of speaking and said, "HMPH, the shadow demons are so bold, this time, we must teach the dream a profound lesson. We can't let them continue to run wild." "What's the government's plan?" Nicholas's eyes lit up. He felt that his life was precious, and that a pirate dared to kill the Holy Land is simply arrogant, and must be executed to stifle the threat in the cradle. "There is a major plan. I'm here just to explain to you. There are some details that need your cooperation." With that said, Chinyong glanced at the others and waited. Nichols immediately understood the meaning, looked at his son, and said, "Go and prepare the devil fruit first." "Okay, father." Young Tenryubito nodded and turned to leave the living room. Soon, the door was closed, and only Chinyong was left in the living room. Chinyong took a step, walked to the sofa, sat down slowly, and then chuckled, "Nicholas, what do you think of the Holy Land?" Holy Land. Nichols didn't know why, but since the Gorosei, 5 elders asked, he naturally had to answer, "Holy Land is peaceful and quiet, and it is a land of gods. All of this is due to the government." "Well said." Chinyong showed a kind smile. "It's just that the existence of dreams threatens this peace and tranquility. To get everything back on track, Nicholas, we need your strength." Nicholas was weird. The usual Gorosei, 5 elders wouldn't talk to him like that. However, he didn't think too much, but nodded and said, "What do I need to do?" Since it was the Gorosei, 5 elders who spoke, "As long as I can, I'd be happy to eradicate the dream pirates, especially the shadow demons, this damn it. Things that shouldn't exist in the world at all." Chinyang's face was full of relief. He got up, walked to Nichols, reached out and patted his shoulder. "Very good. What I need you to do is simple." Having said this, Chinyang's tone stopped, and he suddenly scolded, "Shadow demon. You actually dare to appear? Come on." "What?" Nichols turned pale in shock, turned around quickly, and looked around, but found nothing unusual at all. The next moment, an absorption force came from his shoulder. It was as if the space had been torn open, to swallow him whole. "What's this?" Nicholas was shocked, half of his body had been inhaled. "You." Nicholas looked at Gorosei, 5 elders in disbelief, only to see the other's expression indifferent. There was no time to leave any message, and in the next instant, he disappeared and was completely swallowed by the crack in the space. "Go to the shadow world and meet your brother Menegal," Chinyong said softly. Just then, the gate was rushed open, and several guards poured in. Lord Gorose, 5 elders. As soon as these people entered the door, they came to Qin Yang's side, and at the same time looked around on alert. Before Qin Yang could speak, another group of people came to the hall. These people were wearing black suits, and they were the night team. The leader was a man in his 30s, wearing a white robe. Lord Gorose, 5 elders. The leader immediately said hugely, "Are you all right?" Humph. Qin Yang snorted coldly, his face extremely ugly, "A bunch of trash. Just now, the shadow demon appeared here and took Nichols away." What? Everyone was shocked. An hour ago, Meneghel was captured, and the government deliberately increased the patrol force. As a result, another Tenryubito disappeared after an hour passed. Dad. At this moment, an exclamation came from the door, and the Tenryubito who had left earlier was full of panic. It's just that this panic doesn't seem to be because of his father, but because of his own comfort. Qin Yang glanced at him and found that the servant behind him was holding 2 small boxes. That should be a devil fruit. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yang looked at the team leader and said with a livid face, "A group of rice buckets. You go and gather those capable people, especially the idiot who warns you." Saying that, he walked away, leaning on crutches, exuding 163 monstrous anger all over his body. Everyone's heart froze. It was the Gorose, 5 elders furious. Those guys were afraid they would be punished. Damn it, the leader of the team thought angrily. I'm nearby. Observation hockey has been covering a radius of 1,000 meters, but in just an instant, Nichols's breath disappeared. Shadow demon, really scary. With a shudder, he immediately went to notify the rest of the capable members. At the same time, Qin Yang left Nicholas's mansion. He walked, but the old man's roar kept coming from his mind. You lunatic! How dare you do such a thing? You are trying to arouse all Tenryubito's sense of crisis, and you are forcing them to take out a national treasure. Shut up, old man. No one told you. Are you annoying? It's been chattering since just now. After a pause, Qin Yang couldn't help issue again. Besides, this has nothing to do with me. It's you who did it. Asshole. The old man with crutches was furious, and he wanted to slash the shadow demon with thousands of swords. However, I can only think about it. He is being manipulated, and there is nothing to do. Soon, the news that Nicholas was captured by the shadow demon spread throughout the Holy Land, and all Tenryubito learned that everyone was in danger, and many more had entered the World Government Building to denounce the government's incompetence. In the conference room of the building, the 5 old men who held the highest power in the world gathered again. Only this time, no one spoke, and everyone's face was extremely ugly. Crazy. A bunch of madmen. They're all madmen. For a long time, the old man with the sword did not know who he was scolding, and murmured viciously. Qin Yang also put on an ugly face, but he was secretly laughing inside. Chapter 0239_Army of Capable. Third update. I saw the book review saying that controlling Gorose, 5 elders is unreasonable. The 5-star shadow demon can even control the 4 emperors. Gorose, 5 elders is not a problem. But, controlling the 4 emperors, cannot let the other party speak, at most make the pair unable to act. As for the Gorose, 5 elders, no matter how strong or powerful they are, they will not be able to reach the level of the 4 emperors, otherwise the 4 emperors will be finished long ago. Of course, their combat power must be very high, otherwise they will not be able to sit firmly in this position. Close black lens bracket. In the conference room, the atmosphere was very heavy. Gorose, 5 elders sat at the round table with extremely ugly expressions on their faces, especially Qin Yang, who was full of anger. Hateful. Qin Yang glanced at the 4 of them and said bitterly, "Damn shadow demon, in front of me, captured Nicholas. This guy wants to threaten us with this. 2 Tenryubitos have been arrested in a row. Now there is a group of Tenryubitos gathered under the government building. They have panicked and want us to deal with it as soon as possible." How do we deal with it? That guy can travel through space, but he can't catch it at all. You can only protect Tenryubito. The shadow demon's frontal combat effectiveness is not strong. As long as he doesn't take orders, he won't have a chance to attack. In this regard, everyone nodded in agreement. Qin Yang's heart, Isho, he is not interested in catching Tenryubito and Nicholas because of Menegel's transaction. His purpose is still the devil fruit. This, he asked in a deep voice, what about the devil fruit? The government's devil fruit is very safe, but in Tenryubito's hands, each family has some, more or less, and the shadow demon will stare at those fruits. Let them hand them over to us to keep, and return them later. The old man with a face with a Chinese character suggested, and just after he finished speaking, he shook his head. How can Tenryubito hand over the fruit? Even if some of them are willing, some will not agree. Those who are willing to pay, and those who are unwilling, seek more blessings from themselves. Okay, that's it, let someone inform you. The old man with the blonde hair and the national character nodded, and immediately called the soldiers to explain the matter. At the same time, he let the people from the Legion of Ability to come. It didn't take long for a group of people in white robes to enter the conference room. Behind these people's robes, there was a special Legion emblem. This emblem, not the Tenryubito flag, nor the world government flag, is a shield cross. After hearing this for a while, Qin Yang already knew. The name of this elite unit is the Holy Guard, an army dedicated to protecting the Holy Land, directly under the commander-in-chief of the army, and also under the orders of Gorosei, 5 elders. The number of the Holy Guards is 22, the commander is Kong Kong, and there is a deputy commander, whose rank is the same as Marine Admiral, and the remaining 20 people are all of Rear Admiral rank. Everyone is capable. Qin Yang looked at the group of people and nodded secretly. This army alone is a huge force. Although it is far less than the Marine headquarters, it is more than enough to protect a holy place. If Dream wants to attack, I am afraid that it has to activate the dominant cadres, and it is necessary to have 2 or more. After all, there are 5 Gorosei, 5 elders who do not know the depths. Of course, if it is a 5-star sea dragon, maybe 1 person is enough. Have seen Gorosei, 5 elders. The Holy Guards waited, and after entering the conference room, they all saluted the 5 old men. Sword-wielding old man said solemnly, Kozak, the shadow demon took Nicholas before, why didn't you warn me? Hearing this, a blonde young man came out of the Holy Guard and said, Lord Gorosei, 5 elders, the fruit I ate was the alarm fruit. After the shadow demon assassinated Saint Neradek, he obeyed the order and shakes hands with all the Tenryubitos in the Holy Land, so that the safety of each other can be predicted, but Saint Nicholas refused to shake my hand. Shake hands. Is there a condition for the ability to activate? Qin Yang raised his eyebrows, and suddenly thought of the Baba fruit of Fishman Island. That guy also needs to shake hands to lock on the target. However, in contrast, this guy's early warning fruit seems to be stronger and can warn multiple targets. Ha! The old man with Chinese character face sighed and said angrily, Nichols, this idiot, didn't shake hands with you, why didn't he report it in the first place? Because that guy sees people lowly. Blonde man secretly said in his heart, but said on his face, I am very sorry, it was my negligence, and I am willing to accept the punishment. Immediately, he decisively knelt down on one knee. Forget it. Qin Yang saw the opportunity to speak, waved his hand and said, what if there is an early warning? I was there at the time, and it was too late to stop the shadow demon. A hint of surprise flashed in the blonde man's eyes. He didn't dare to look up, but was surprised that Qin Yang would forgive his mistakes. The past, this Gorosei, 5 elders was a very strict old man. Just thinking about it, I heard Qin Yang continue, you are all elites out of 10,000, what can you do about the shadow demon? Hearing this, the important tasks of the Holy Guard came to a glance. After a while, one person walked out and said, Lord Gorosei, 5 elders, I ate the decibel fruit, which can create a super strong decibel impact in an instant, enough to destroy a city, even if the shadow demon ignores physical attacks, but this strong he can't stand the shock, so I can be sent to deal with him. It's useless, the shadow demon ignores any attacks. Whitebeard's vibrations are useless, so are yours. The long-bearded old man shook his head. Another member of the Holy Guard said, I ate the mind movement fruit, and I can use my mind to suppress the shadow demon. Make him unable to move. Oh, Qinyang said lightly, and after a while, shook his head. No way, it is rumored that even the soul fruit can't deal with him. Your psychic assassination is meaningless. Then, walked out of the third person and said, Lord Gorose, 5 elders, I think I should be able to deal with the shadow demon. I eat rubber fruit, as long as I rub it, I can erase the shadow demon's memory, let him not be our enemy. You can even get some information about dreams from his mouth. As soon as these words came out, Gorose, 5 elders all stared. Qinyang narrowed his eyes without a trace. Rubber fruit, this ability is quite threatening. However, before the Gorose, 5 elders could speak, another person stepped forward. Lord Gorose, 5 elders, what I eat is the phantom fruit, which can release a special gas. As long as the shadow demon touches it, it will immediately fall into an illusion and sink. No, Lord Gorose, 5 elders, my ability is more suitable. I am a scaring fruit ability, which can create terrifying scenes and scare away shadow demons. For a while, these holy guards volunteered themselves and asked to fight. Enough. Suddenly, Kong Kong scolded and hummed. If the shadow demon was so easy to deal with, Marine would not have caught it yet. Your abilities are very unique, but no ability is invincible. Pause, he continued. With the treacherousness of the shadow demon, he may be able to hear what you are saying now. Everyone was speechless and took a step back. Qinyang couldn't help show in his heart. Kong's intuition was accurate, he really listened, and he heard it clearly. However, that rubber fruit is really a bit threatening. It can be compared with the memory fruit of a certain daughter of Big Mom. Find a chance to kill him. Qinyang thought to himself, but said on the face, no need to say more. This time the enemy cannot be dealt with by 1 or 2 people. Although the shadow demon is only an ordinary member of the dream, any member of the dream has a summon. The ability of the cadres, so your task is to protect the Tenryubito gathered in the government building together. Yes. A group of people knelt down and took orders. Qinyang nodded in satisfaction. Tenryubito was gathering at the government building. He had a chance to go to the mansion and laugh at their devil fruit. However, before that, we must first ask the old man with a cane to find out the devil fruit in the hands of the world government. Thinking like this, he said in his heart, do you still want to resist? Tell me honestly, tell me, and I can spare your life. Humph. Old man with crutches looked at everything coldly. He had regained his composure. Shadow demon, I am Gorose, 5 elders. Your disguise trick will soon be debunked. He. Qinyang didn't mind, but smiled and said, I didn't expect to keep pretending for long, but the moment it was exposed was when you went to see God. Old man, do you really want to die? Hearing this, the old man on crutches was shocked, and there was also a touch of fear in his anger. 0240 Chapter 24 Fruits _ From the disconnection of the internet at 5 o'clock in the morning to now I can only upload chapters using the mobile phone hotspot. The night seemed very long. The shadow demon started again and captured Nicholas, making Tenryubito feel a deep crisis. The Gorose, 5 elders decided to protect all the Tenryubito. In this regard, most of the Tenryubito who cherished their lives also agreed to enter a mansion set up by the world government. Even if a small number were dissatisfied, they could only cooperate obediently at this time. And all the holy guards, including the commander-in-chief Kong, guarded the mansion all night to prevent the shadow demon from appearing again. In addition, there is the army, which surrounds the house in 3 circles and 3 circles to ensure that not a single mosquito can fly in. Of course, this level of protection is still unable to prevent shadow demons. Qin is determined and can still sneak in. However, he was not interested in playing with Tenryubito, and he really forced the other party to take out the national treasure. Qin was not sure what would happen. Therefore, he didn't bother to pay attention to this group of Tenryubito. Sitting upright in the splendid room, Qin backed away the guards, while he controlled the old man on crutches and reached out to tap the space in front of him. Suddenly, the space cracked open. "What are you going to do?" asked the old man on crutches in a low voice. "Pay attention to identity. What do I want to do? You are not qualified to ask." Qin said calmly, and then a thick black fog emerged from the shadow of the old man. The next moment, the black fog surrounded him. The old man on crutches had a bad feeling. "Go to sleep." Qin chuckled, and the black fog suddenly tightened, wrapping the old man tightly. After 5 minutes, the old man suffocated and fell into a coma. After confirming that the other party really lost consciousness, Qin broke away from the shadow of the other party, lifted it up, and stepped into the space gap in front of him. Shadow World. As soon as he entered here, Qin immediately saw an interesting scene. Nicholas was covered in blood and poured into the darkness, especially his forehead, which was covered in blood. And beside him, Menegal gasped slightly, his fists were tightly squeezed, and his face had the color of dispelling hatred. "You killed him?" Qin asked. "Yes, thank you for helping me catch him in." Menegal let out a breath, and then saw a cloud of black mist in Qin hands. It was obviously a person, but his whole body was covered in black smoke. "This is who is it?" "You don't need to know." Qin stretched out his hand, and immediately a map and a pen flew out. Here's what he got his hands on: as Gorosei, 5 elders, a map of the Holy Land. Menegal caught it, opened it, and nodded. "According to the agreement, I will mark all the treasure houses of Tenryubito on the map." As he said that, he did it quickly. The Tenryubito 19 family has been multiplied for hundreds of years. In addition to the 19 main families, there are many branch families, but these branch families, in contrast, although they also have absolute privileges, their status in the Holy Land is not as good as the main family. The same as Tenryubito, the status is also different. 2. It took more than half an hour before Miguel Gar handed over a map full of red circles to Qin. There are 36 labels on the map. I can't guarantee it's 100% accurate, and it's not all, but I know there's only so much." "Enough is enough, you are doing well." Qin glanced at the map and recorded all the contents on it in his mind. "You continue to stay here for the time being, and I will let you go before I leave." Of course, he will not let the other party leave easily, and he will leave a little behind. This guy is Tenryubito, and his status is not low enough to be trained as an undercover agent. After all, the other party has the handle in his hands, and he is not afraid that this person will not cooperate obediently. "Don't touch this guy, I'll go first." Qin pointed at the old man with a cane, and then left the shadow space. Back in the luxurious room, Qin poured himself a cup of tea and took a sip. It's 10:30 in the evening, and there are still less than 8 hours before the day. 36 treasure house locations. I hope it's too late. Gently put down the precious teacup. The next moment, Qin body turned into a plume of black smoke and dissipated. 36 treasure houses at the fastest speed. To be said that everyone Tenryubito got together, which can be said to have helped him a lot. Most of the defense forces of the Holy Land were concentrated in the mansion arranged by the government, which caused the interior of each Tenryubito family to appear very empty. And according to the information Qin got, about half of Tenryubito did not choose to hand over the devil fruit to the government for safekeeping. Of course, on the bright side, he would not refuse, just saying that there is no devil fruit in the house. Some may not really have it, and some people are afraid that they do not want to hand it over to the government. In any case, this has greatly facilitated Qin looting. Qin was running around all night. 36 treasure house markers on the map, only less than 20 are real, and among these less than 20 treasure houses, only 7 locations contain devil fruits. However, this is the case, Qin Yang also found 24 devil fruits in these 7 treasure houses. 24 pieces. 10 that Doflamingo handed over. This time, he looted 24 in just one night. In addition, there is a lot of money and treasures. Of course, Qin Yang didn't do anything. If he really emptied the treasure house of the other party, these Tenryubito would be desperately trying to fight with the dream. Sure enough, looting Tenryubito is the best shortcut to making a fortune. After looting the last treasure house, Qin Yang hid in a dark corner. Please click on this harvest. Fruit, 24 pieces. Going, 20 tons. Jewelry, countless. Paper money, more than 100 billion cash. Blah blah blah. Ha ha ha, the world government guarded the mansion all night. Tenryubito was worried all night, but the shadow demon didn't show up at all. I don't know what their expressions will be when they are exposed later. Qin Yang couldn't help laughing, and it took a while to calm down. Fantasy, he shouted in his heart. What's the matter? Is there a kind of transformation that can travel the world? Qin Yang asked seriously. Of course there is. This answer made Qin Yang's eyes light up. When he first opened the second shadow demon, he had been looking forward to a transformation that would travel through the world. The results have changed to the 9th, but still not as expected. He has been collecting devil fruits. On the one hand, it is to open the illusion and make it reach the 6-star level. On the other hand, it is to open a transformation that can travel through the world one day. Maybe there is a possibility that he can return to Earth. On Earth, he also has parents and sisters, who are worth caring about. My sister's name is Qin Yao, she is 18 years old, and she is a senior in high school. Thinking of his sister, Qin Yang suddenly became a little lost. He wondered how his sister would feel when she learned the news of her disappearance. Just thinking about it, Fantasy Jean said again, actually, if you upgrade the illusory god to a 6-star level, you can also travel through the world. However, you can only travel in the fantasy world. The fantasy world is naturally the world of animation, film and television, novels, myths, etc. Earth doesn't count. Qin Yang shook his head and said, I still hope to start a transformation that travels through the world. Do you know what they are? A lot. Fantasy Jean replied rigidly. For example, Void Dragon, Human Immortal, Great Demon God, etc. Of course, this lot refers to the number. For the immeasurable total number of fantasy transformations, it is very rare, very rare. Is that so? Qin Yang let out a breath and said with a smile, as long as there is, it will be open sooner or later. Now, I have looted the treasure house of Tenryubito, and the next step is the government. In fact, there must be many treasures of Tenryubito that he has not visited, but it is very troublesome to find, and it cannot be done in a short time. Therefore, Qin Yang targeted the world government.